Before history had names, before writing etched memory into stone, something else was already standing, silent, massive, and profoundly unsettling. Across the world, structures rise from the earth that seem to defy the limits of their age. Stones weighing tens of tons, fitted with surgical precision, aligned to skies no one was supposed to understand, yet thought no blueprints, no machinery, no written record explaining how or why they were built. Archaeology offers timelines, but these monuments resist them. The deeper we look, the more uncomfortable the questions become. Who organized the labor? What knowledge guided engineering? And why do similar designs appear across continents that, according to history, were never connected? These aren't legends or fantasies. They are real places you can stand beside, touch and measure, and still not fully explain. Tonight, we're going to explore the prehistoric structures that challenge our assumptions about early humanity and step into the unanswered space between what we think we know and what the stones themselves suggest. At the southern edge of modern Mexico City, where traffic hums and volcanic stone lines the streets, a dark circular form rises quietly from the ground. God, it is easy to miss it first. Its slope subdued, its presence understated. Yet, this structure, known as the Circular Pyramid of Quilo, is among the oldest monumental constructions in Mesoamerica. Long before the Aztecs, long before Teotihuacan dominated the Valley of Mexico, this place was already ancient. Quilco sits on a lava-covered plain shaped by one of the most destructive volcanic eruptions in the region's history. The nearby volcano, Sidle, erupted sometime around the 1st centuries BCE or CE, releasing rivers of molten basalt that buried fields, homes, and entire ceremonial centers. For centuries, Quilco disappeared beneath hardened lava, preserved and erased at the same time. When archaeologists began excavating the site in the 20th century, they uncovered a city frozen at the edge of catastrophe. The pyramid itself is unusual. Unlike the stepped rectangular pyramids more commonly associated with Mesoamerican cultures, this structure is circular, composed of concentric stone terraces that rise gradually toward a flattened summit. Measuring over 100 meters in diameter, it would have been an imposing presence in its time. Its shape has led researchers to propose practical explanations. Perhaps it symbolized a volcano, echoed natural cycles, or served as a ceremonial platform connected to solar or agricultural rituals. Mainstream archaeology places the construction of Quilco between roughly 800 BCE and 100 CE, suggesting it was built by a complex but still early society, one without metal tools, draft animals, or written language as we understand it today. Yet the scale of the pyramid implies sophisticated planning, coordinated labor, and a deep understanding of geometry. How did this early culture organize itself so effectively? What social or religious force compelled such an undertaking? As excavations continued, Quilco began to complicate established timelines. Some researchers suggested that its influence may have rivaled, or even predated that of Teotihuacan, raising questions about the true origins of urban civilization in the region. Others pointed to the lava layers as a kind of geological timestamp, arguing that the city's burial might fix its age with unusual precision. Still, debates remain. Volcanic dating is not always exact, and interpretations vary. Beyond academic discussion, Quilco has drawn the attention of more speculative thinkers. The pyramid's circular design has been compared to similar forms found in distant parts of the world, prompting questions about parallel development or shared symbolic language. Some fringe theories propose astronomical alignments or lost cultural knowledge passed down from an earlier forgotten civilization. While no direct evidence supports these ideas, their persistence reflects a broader unease. The sense that early human societies may have been more capable, more connected than conventional narratives allow. What is clear is that Quilco did not simply vanish. The eruption of Chitle forced its inhabitants to abandon the site, and many scholars believe survivors migrated northward, possibly contributing to the rise of Teotihuacan. If so, Coquilo may represent not a dead end, but a foundation, an origin point buried beneath stone and time. Today, the pyramid stands partially excavated, surrounded by modern buildings and highways. It feels suspended between worlds, ancient and contemporary, explained and unresolved. Its stones offer facts, dimensions, materials, layers, but little certainty about belief, intention, or meaning. Was this place primarily ceremonial, political, astronomical, or did it serve purposes we have not yet learned to recognize? As researchers continue to study Quilo, the site resists final interpretation. Perhaps that is its quiet power. Beneath the hardened lava and the weight of centuries, it remains a reminder that history is not always linear, and that some of its most important chapters may still be waiting just below the surface. If Coquilo leaves us with the image of a civilization buried by fire, then our journey now shifts eastward to a land shaped not by volcanoes, but by rivers, dust, and the long memory of empires. Here, between the Tigris and the Euphrates, the ground rises once more into a monumental form, weathered but unmistakably intentional. Against the open plains of central Iraq, the ziggurat of Dor Kurigalu still stands, its silhouette cutting into the horizon like a fossilized idea. At first glance, the structure appears stark and austere, built of sundry mud brick reinforced with baked layers. Its massive core ascends in stepped tiers, once crowned by a temple now lost to time. Even in its ruined state, the ziggurat dominates the landscape, rising over 50 meters high. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt or the circular platform of Quiquilo, this tower was not meant to contain the dead, but to elevate the living toward the divine. It was a bridge between earth and sky. Kurugalzu was founded in the 14th century BCE by the Kassite king Kurugalzu, the first during a period often described as stable and prosperous. Mainstream archaeology presents the ziggurat as part of a carefully planned capital city complete with palaces, temples, and defensive walls. Clay tablets recovered nearby speak of administration, trade, and ritual. On paper, it is a story of order and intention. Yet, the scale of the ziggurat raises questions that do not rest easily on records alone. Constructing a structure of this size required tens of millions of bricks, precise alignment, and long-term coordination across generations. The builders worked without iron tools, modern mathematics, or mechanized transport. And still the tower rose, its corners aligned with the cardinal directions, its form consistent with a cosmological vision shared across Mesopotamia. Why such effort? Officially, ziggurats were sacred mountains, symbolic dwellings for the gods. The temple at the summit was believed to be a resting place for the deity, accessible only to priests. But unlike hidden sanctuaries, these towers were meant to be seen from great distances. They dominated the city skyline, visible across the plains. Were they purely religious symbols or something more functional? Some researchers have suggested that ziggurats also served as observatories, their height offering an unobstructed view of the sky. Mesopotamian cultures were keen astronomers, tracking planetary movements and recording eclipses with remarkable accuracy. Could the ziggurat have been part of a broader system of celestial observation, encoding knowledge that extended beyond ritual? Others have noted the durability of the structure itself. While palaces and homes crumbled, the ziggurat endured. Its core remained solid after more than 3,000 years, surviving floods, invasions, and neglect. The engineering choices, thick walls, drainage systems, layered materials, suggest an understanding of structural stress and environmental challenges that feels unexpectedly advanced for its time. As with many ancient monuments, Archaeological has attracted more speculative interpretations. Some fringe theories propose that ziggurats were not symbolic mountains but literal platforms for communication with the heavens. The stars are forces not fully understood. The recurring image of stairways ascending toward the sky found across cultures invites comparison. Is this a universal metaphor or evidence of shared ancient ideas lost to history? There is also the question of sudden abandonment. Archaeological did not gradually decline. It was eventually left behind as political power shifted. The ziggurat remained, looming over an empty city. What rituals were interrupted? What knowledge was no longer practiced? The clay tablets tell us how grain was stored and workers were paid, but they are silent on the deeper meanings that once animated the tower. Standing before the ziggurat today, one is struck not only by its size, but by its restraint. It does not overwhelm with ornament or inscription. It asserts itself through mass, proportion, and endurance. It feels less like a monument to a king than to an idea that humans could reach upward, organize collectively, and reshape the land in pursuit of something unseen. As the sun sets over the Mesopotamian plain, shadows stretch across the ancient bricks, emphasizing lines laid down millennia ago. We know who built this tower and roughly when. We can describe its purpose in careful academic terms. And yet something remains just beyond reach. What did it truly mean to those who climbed its steps? And what other stories pressed into its walls have yet to be heard? From the sun-baked plains of Mesopotamia, where towers once rose to meet the gods, our path now bends westward across the Mediterranean into the heart of the ancient world. Here on the island of Sardinia, the landscape changes. The air grows salt-laced, the terrain softer, shaped by wind and time rather than vast rivers. And in the quiet countryside near the city of Cesare, an unexpected form interrupts the horizon. Monte Dati does not announce itself with the height of a ziggurat or the mass of a pyramid. At first glance, it appears almost modest. A truncated mound of stone and earth, crowned by a flat platform and approached by a long straight ramp. Yet the longer one stands before it, the more its presence deepens. This is not a natural hill. It is deliberate, structured, and profoundly out of place. Discovered in the mid-10th century, Monte Dati is unique in Europe. Dating to the late Neolithic and early Copper Age, roughly between 4000 and 2800 B.C.E. It predates Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids of Egypt. Mainstream archaeology describes it as a ceremonial altar or temple complex built in stages by early agrarian communities. Excavations reveal at least two major construction phases with an earlier structure encased by a later larger one, suggesting continuity of use across centuries. Its form is what draws immediate attention. A raised platform accessed by a steep ramp nearly 40 meters long leading to a flat summit. The resemblance to Mesopotamian ziggurats is difficult to ignore, even if the scale is smaller and the material simpler. Stone slabs, earthfill, and careful layering give the structure a sense of permanence. But how did such a design appear here on an island far from the river civilizations of the Near East? Archaeologists caution against easy comparisons. They note that similar architectural solutions can emerge independently, shaped by shared human needs and symbolic thinking. A raised platform separates the sacred from the everyday. A ramp creates processional movement. These are universal ideas. And yet, Monte Dati remains an anomaly within the European prehistoric record. No other structure quite like it has been found nearby. Surrounding the platform, researchers uncovered a complex ritual landscape. Large standing stones, animal bones, and carved stone spheres hint at ceremonial activity. Traces of fire suggest offerings or sacrifices. The presence of cattle remains. Valuable animals in early farming societies points to rituals of considerable importance. This was not a casual gathering place. It demanded effort, resources, and shared belief. Mainstream interpretations frame Monte Dakota as a communal religious center, possibly tied to fertility, seasonal cycles, or ancestor veneration. The elevated platform may have supported wooden structures or altars now long vanished. From its summit, one can see across the surrounding plains, a vantage point that feels both symbolic and practical. But as with many prehistoric sites, the absence of written records leaves room for uncertainty. Who led the ceremonies here? Was this a place for an elite class or a shared sanctuary for the entire community? And what ideas justified the labor required to move and shape so much stone? More speculative voices have asked different questions. The alignment of the ramp, roughly oriented toward the solstice sunrise, has fueled theories of astronomical significance. Was Monte Dati a marker of celestial events, a calendar carved into the landscape? Or did the builders view the sky itself as an active participant in their rituals? Others have returned to the structure's ziggurat-like form. Sardinia was not isolated in prehistory. Obsidian from the island has been found across the Mediterranean, evidence of far-reaching trade networks. Could ideas have traveled along with materials? Could Monte do represent a fragment of shared symbolic language carried by seafarers long before recorded history? There are even more unconventional interpretations suggesting that the site functioned as a place of initiation, or that it held acoustic or energetic properties now lost to us. These ideas remain speculative, unsupported by direct evidence. Yet their persistence reflects a broader truth. Monte Dakota resists simple explanation. It feels intentional in ways that go beyond survival or shelter. The site's history includes destruction as well as creation. Signs of deliberate dismantling suggest that the structure was eventually abandoned or even ritually decommissioned. Stones were removed. Fires were lit. Whatever belief system once sustained Monte Dakota did not endure unchanged. Something shifted socially, spiritually, or environmentally. Today, the platform stands exposed beneath the open sky, stripped of whatever crowned it. Wind moves across the stones. The ramp leads upward, but to no clear destination. Visitors can climb it, retracing steps taken thousands of years ago, and still find no inscription, no symbol, no final answer waiting at the top. What remains is form and silence. A structure too complex to dismiss, too ancient to fully explain. Monte Dakota does not fit neatly into established narratives of European prehistory. It suggests experimentation, ambition, and a willingness to reshape the landscape for reasons we can only infer. As we continue tracing these improbable monuments across continents, Monte Dakota lingers in the mind, not as a solved puzzle, but as a question carved in stone. Was this an isolated expression of early ritual architecture, or a faint echo of ideas shared across a wider prehistoric world? And how many other structures once just as purposeful now lie hidden beneath fields, forests, or the slow accumulation of time? From quiet stone platform of Monte Dakota, where ritual once lifted human intention toward the sky, our path now carries us farther east, beyond the Mediterranean, across ancient sea routes that once linked distant cultures. Here, the land changes again. Dense forests replace open plains. The air thickens with heat and monsoon rain. And rising abruptly from the heart of Sri Lanka's interior stands a formation so singular it seems almost unreal. Sajira appears first as a shadow on the horizon, a sheer column of rock nearly 200 meters high emerging from the jungle like a relic of another age. Its sides are smooth and vertical, shaped by geological forces long before human memory. Yet at its summit, carved into its flanks and surrounding its base, are unmistakable signs of human design. Nature provided the foundation. Humanity transformed it. Mainstream history places Segura's most dramatic phase in the 5th century CE during the reign of King Kashyapa, according to chronicles. Kashyapa seized the throne and, fearing retribution, chose this isolated monolith as the site of his capital and fortress. What followed was an extraordinary feat of engineering and imagination. Gardens, reservoirs, stairways, and palaces were carved directly into stone, turning a natural outcrop into a self-contained city in the sky. At ground level, water gardens spread outward in carefully planned symmetry. Channels, fountains, and pools, some still functioning today, suggest advanced hydraulic knowledge. These were not decorative afterthoughts. They were integrated systems using gravity, pressure, and seasonal flow to maintain water year-round. How such precision was achieved without modern instruments remains a subject of study and admiration. As one ascends the rock, the path narrows. Brick staircases cling to the stone face. Halfway up, sheltered beneath an overhang, lie the famous fresco. Paintings of women rendered with remarkable softness and confidence. Their identity is uncertain. Are they celestial beings, court attendants, symbols of abundance or protection? Their survival, exposed to centuries of weather, adds another layer of quiet mystery. Higher still, the ascent passes the remains of a colossal lion sculpture. Today, only its massive brick paws remain, framing the final climb. Ancient visitors would have entered through the lion's mouth, passing from the ordinary world into something elevated and controlled. The symbolism is unmistakable. Power, guardianship, transformation. At the summit, the remains of palatial structures spread across the flattened peak. Foundations, pools, and terraces suggest a royal residence of striking refinement. From here, the view extends for kilometers in every direction, a strategic advantage, but also a psychological one. The king above all, watching the land below. Mainstream explanations describe Sigiriya as a royal fortress and pleasure palace. Its location chosen for defense and isolation. After Kashyapa's death, the site was reportedly abandoned as a capital and later repurposed as a Buddhist monastery. This sequence fits within known historical patterns, and yet it leaves questions unanswered. The engineering alone invites deeper examination, transporting materials up sheer rock faces, maintaining water systems at such height, achieving symmetry and alignment on uneven stone. All of it required planning, coordination, and knowledge that felt far ahead of their time. Was this the product of one ruler's ambition or the culmination of much older traditions? Some researchers have noted that Segura's layout aligns with geometric and possibly cosmological principles. The placement of gardens, pathways, and structures appears deliberate, echoing concepts of order found in sacred architecture elsewhere in the ancient world. Could Sigiriya have served not only as a fortress, but as a symbolic landscape, a physical expression of cosmic balance? Others have looked beyond the written chronicles, which were composed centuries after the events they describe. They ask whether Sigiriya's origins might extend further back, perhaps as a sacred site long before Kashyapa's reign. The rock itself, towering and isolated, would have commanded attention for millennia. Did earlier cultures mark it, revere it, or use it in ways now erased by later construction? More speculative theories suggest Sigiriya functioned as an advanced observatory or ritual center, its height and visibility linking earth and sky. The absence of definitive inscriptions at the summit leaves room for interpretation. Like many ancient sites, Sigiriya speaks through stone layout and silence rather than text. What is undeniable is the site's atmosphere. Even today, standing at the top of the rock, there is a sense of removal from time, from scale, from ordinary human concerns. The jungle stretches outward, vast and unbroken. The modern world feels distant. It is easy to imagine why this place was chosen, and harder to fully explain how it was realized. Nigeria resists reduction to a single purpose: fortress, palace, monastery, symbol. Perhaps it was all of these layered across time, or perhaps its true significance lies in something we no longer have the language to describe. As the sun lowers and shadows lengthen across the rock face, the question remains suspended in the air. Was Nigeria an extraordinary exception, proof of what humans can achieve under rare circumstances? Or is it a reminder that ancient knowledge, once widespread, now survives only in fragments carved into stone, waiting for us to notice what we may have forgotten? From the monolithic height of Siberia, where human ambition once carved a city into the sky, Earth Journey returns now to the heart of Mesoamerica, a land of valleys, lakes, and dense tropical forests, where ancient civilizations left indelible marks upon the earth. Here, the air hums with history, and the ground itself seems to resonate with ritual. Rising from the central Mexican plateau, one structure dominates the landscape. Both monumental and enigmatic, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent at Teotihuacan. The temple, or Templo de Quetzalcoatl, sits at the base of the Ciudadela, the grand central complex of Teotihuacan, and it is immediately striking. Unlike the towering pyramids that draw the eye upward in sweeping ascents, this structure engages through intricate reliefs, repeating geometric patterns, and the haunting presence of sculpted serpents that waned across its stepped terraces, carved heads of the feathered serpent interspersed with depictions of Tlaloc, the rain god, confront visitors with a duality of power, creation and destruction, life and death woven into stone. Archaeological research dates the temple to around 200 CE, during a period when Teotihuacan was at its zenith. A sprawling urban center with tens of thousands of inhabitants, sophisticated infrastructure, and a complex social hierarchy. Mainstream interpretations describe the Temple of the Feathered Serpent as a ceremonial center, part of the city's larger cosmological plan. The structure's alignment along the Avenue of the Dead, together with neighboring pyramids, suggests deliberate urban planning informed by astronomical observation. Sunlight and shadow would have fallen precisely across the serpent reliefs at certain times of year, reinforcing the connection between earth, sky, and ritual. Yet, the temple is more than a product of urban design. Excavations beneath its terraces have revealed extraordinary finds. Mass graves containing the remains of dozens of individuals, many bearing signs of ritual sacrifice. Skulls, broken bones, and objects of ceremonial significance suggest that the temple was not only a site of worship, but of human offering, an interface between the human and the divine. The precision of the construction, the scale of the city, and the ritual complexity all hint at a society capable of orchestrating immense projects with exacting coordination. The mystery deepens when one considers the feathered serpent itself. Quetzalcoatl is more than a deity. It is a symbol that resonates across Mesoamerica, appearing in Memic, Maya, and later Aztec art. Why did Teotihuacan choose to elevate this figure here at this moment in history? Was it merely a religious icon, a political statement, or an emblem of knowledge now lost? The absence of written records from the Teotihuacanos leaves these questions unresolved. Unlike the Maya or Aztec, they left no notices, no explanatory texts. The stones speak in patterns, not words. Some researchers have proposed that the temple functioned as a symbolic cosmos encoding understanding of the heavens and the cycles of time. Others have noted the repetition and modularity of its serpent motifs, suggesting an advanced comprehension of geometry and mathematics. The precision of construction, the way each terrace aligns, each carving interlocks, feels deliberate, almost beyond the capabilities attributed to a civilization that lacked metal tools. How did they achieve such sophistication? What knowledge was required, and how was it transmitted across generations? Beyond the technical achievements, There is an eerie sense of intentionality in the placement of the mass graves. The victims appear to have been arranged ritually, aligned with architectural axes, sometimes adorned with shells or small objects. Were these sacrifices meant to consecrate the temple, to protect the city, or did they serve a function that we cannot begin to understand, a symbolic language lost with the people themselves? Speculative interpretations abound. Some theorists suggest that the feathered serpent represents a kind of ancient knowledge, a metaphor for forces humans could harness but not fully control. Others note that similar serpentine motifs appear across distant cultures from South America to Asia, raising questions about universal symbolism, or perhaps ideas that traveled along trade networks now largely erased, while direct evidence is lacking. The repetition of form and ritual across time and space invites reflection on what early civilizations may have known and what they sought to express. The temple's relationship to the wider city is equally intriguing. Teotihuacan itself was planned with rigorous symmetry and orientation, reflecting astronomical knowledge and perhaps ritual purpose. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent sits not as an isolated monument, but as part of a carefully orchestrated system. Aligned streets surrounding pyramids and the Avenue of the Dead all contribute to a narrative written in stone and earth. This was a society that translated vision into urban form. Yet its narrative remains partially obscured by time. Standing at the base of the temple today, one feels both awe and disgust. The carved serpents stare outward, their open mouths frozen in mid-roar, while the terraces rise with measured precision. Shadows stretch across the stone, shifting with the sun, reminding us that the builders understood the interplay of light, space, and perception. And yet, despite millennia of study, the meaning of this place resists certainty. What remains unmistakable is the message encoded in the stone. Human ambition reaching toward the divine, intelligence and ritual fused into architecture. A civilization capable of feats that still challenge our understanding. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent, like the structures we have explored across continents, stands as a testament to knowledge that has been partially lost. A reminder that the prehistoric world still holds secrets far beyond what written history preserves. As the shadows lengthen over Teotihuacan, questions persist. Who were the individuals whose lives were offered here? And what did they understand of the cosmos? What inspired a society to carve such enduring symbols into stone, combining ritual, power, and artistry? And what else buried beneath the terraces and streets may yet emerge to illuminate and deepen the mystery of a civilization that even in its ruin continues to speak to us across the centuries? Now, this text is part of a 3-hour video exploring prehistoric structures no civilization could build. Please ensure it flows smoothly from the previous section using a soft transition or connection. In English, write a calm, mysterious, and immersive narrative exploring human ruins. The tone should be serious, thoughtful, and documentary-like, similar to what you'd hear in a History Channel or Netflix mystery documentary series. Begin with a vivid description of the location or object. Gradually build intrigue by blending verified historical facts with unexplained elements, moving from mainstream explanations to more speculative or fringe theories without endorsing or ridiculing any of them. Use clear descriptive language, rhetorical questions, and a slow, investigative pace. Avoid sensationalism. Let the mystery speak for itself. End the section with a reflection or an open question suggesting that the mystery remains unsolved and inviting the reader or viewer to wonder what might still be hidden. Target length 900 words. No need for a conclusion. This is part of an ongoing exploration from the stone-carved terraces of Teotihuacan, where serpents emerge from the earth and ritual shapes the city. Our journey now takes us eastward once more, this time to a stark and silent landscape that that contrasts sharply with the vibrant urban sprawl of Mesoamerica. Here in the Judean desert along the northwestern shores of the Dead Sea, jagged cliffs rise from a sun-scorched plateau, overlooking deep ravines and salt-encrusted beaches. Nestled among these cliffs are the ruins of Qumran, a site that has captured the imagination of historians, archaeologists, and seekers of ancient knowledge alike. Qumran's remains are modest at first glance. Low stone walls, the foundations of dwellings, communal halls, and storage rooms stretch across the uneven terrain. Yet the austerity of these structures belies their significance. Built largely from local limestone, they cling to the contours of the desert, blending with the natural environment while imposing a subtle order on a rugged landscape. The site is eerily quiet, save for the occasional gust of wind that sweeps across the plateau, stirring centuries of dust and whispering faintly of the lives once lived here. Excavations suggest that Qumran was inhabited primarily between the 2nd century BCE and the 1st century CE. Scholars have long associated the settlement with a sect known as the Essenes, a devout and ascetic community that may have sought refuge from the social and political upheavals of Judea. Within this context, Qumran is often described as a religious retreat, a place of study, ritual, and communal living. Its inhabitants appear to have maintained strict routines with spaces for bathing, ritual preparation, and the copying of texts. It is, however, what lies nearby that has enshrined Qumran in modern consciousness. The Dead Sea Scrolls discovered in caves near the settlement. These ancient manuscripts include fragments of biblical texts, apocryphal works, and sectarian writings. They reveal a remarkable literacy and theological sophistication, suggesting that Qumran was not merely a remote desert outpost, but a center of knowledge and spiritual contemplation. For scholars, the scrolls provide invaluable insight into Jewish thought on the eve of the Common Era. Yet questions linger. The ruins themselves provoke wonder. Why was Qumran situated in such a harsh and remote environment? What motivated a community to invest so much effort in constructing terraces, cisterns, and ritual baths in an unforgiving desert? Was the site chosen purely for isolation, or did its geography hold symbolic or cosmological significance? The desert, with its stark cliffs and shifting shadows, seems almost a deliberate collaborator in the life and ritual of the community, framing their world in permanence and austerity. Further intrigue arises when one considers the scale and precision of the construction. The main building complex exhibits careful planning with long, straight walls, finely cut stones, and drainage systems designed to capture and store scarce water. These features indicate a society attuned to its environment, capable of transforming inhospitable terrain into a livable and enduring settlement. How did such a small community achieve this? What engineering knowledge guided their efforts, passed down through observation, oral instruction, or something more esoteric? Some scholars have suggested that Qumran may have functioned not only as a religious center, but as a hub for knowledge preservation. The meticulous copying of scrolls implies a sophisticated understanding of textual transmission, memory, and archival discipline. Was the community aware that the documents they preserved would survive millennia hidden in caves awaiting discovery? Or was this preservation incidental, a byproduct of devotion rather than foresight? Speculative interpretations deepen the sense of mystery. Some theorists have proposed that Qumran may have held knowledge extending beyond religious texts, astronomical, chondric, or philosophical, that has not yet been fully recognized. The alignment of certain structures, the careful planning of water systems, and the emphasis on ritual purification suggest a worldview in which the physical and spiritual realms were inseparable. Could there have been hidden dimensions of understanding encoded in architecture and text? that remain only partially accessible to modern inquiry. There are also debates surrounding the abrupt abandonment of the site. Archaeological evidence points to sudden desertion around the time of the Roman conquest of Judea. Signs of fire and destruction hint at external threats. Yet the scroll survived, hidden in nearby caves. Why did the community leave so completely? And what stories were lost when the buildings were deserted? The silence of the desert leaves these questions unanswered, yet palpable, as if the landscape itself holds memory beyond our reach. Standing among the ruins today, one is struck by the interplay of fragility and endurance. The stone walls, the cisterns, the remnants of living quarters, they all speak of human intention and adaptability. Yet they are also delicate, weathered by wind and time. The nearby cliffs rise like silent witnesses, casting long shadows across the ruins as the sun moves westward, reminding visitors that this place exists simultaneously in the present and in the echo of history. KUMA challenges our understanding of prehistoric and ancient achievement in subtle ways. It is not a monumental pyramid or ziggurat towering and immediately imposing. Yet its significance is no less profound. Here humans carved meaning from an unforgiving landscape, preserved knowledge against the odds, and created a sanctuary that continues to speak across centuries. Its mysteries are layered: architectural, textual, ritualistic, and environmental, all intertwined. As evening descends over the Judean desert, the ruins stand in quiet repose, the cliffs catching the last light of day. What secrets still lie buried in the caves or in the patterns of stone and mortar? How much of human ambition, faith, and ingenuity at Qumran remains invisible to us, waiting to be recognized? In this remote place where history and landscape converge, the questions endure, silent, insistent, and profound. From the arid cliffs of Qumran, where the desert preserves both stone and scroll, our exploration now turns westward across the European continent into the rolling hills and forests of central France. Here the land rises into the Morvan Massif, a high plateau of windswept valleys, dense woodland, and hidden springs. Amid this landscape, atop Monter, lie the remains of Bibra, an ancient popedom whose scale and sophistication continue to intrigue historians and archaeologists alike. Bibre is striking in its subtlety. From a distance, it appears as gentle undulations in the forest, stone terraces and ramparts partially obscured by moss and trees. Yet closer inspection reveals something remarkable. Fortified walls stretching for kilometers, carefully laid cobblestone streets, public squares, and evidence of dwellings, workshops, and storage facilities. Unlike the monumental pyramids or ziggurats that dominate other regions, Bibra asserts its presence through urban complexity rather than verticality, demonstrating that human ingenuity can command space in ways both grand and understated. Archaeological studies date primarily to the 1st century BCE, a major center of the Celtic Aedui tribe. It functioned as both a political capital and a commercial hub, strategically positioned to control trade routes across Gaul. Excavations reveal layers of occupation with successive fortifications indicating centuries of planning, adaptation, and growth. Mainstream interpretations suggest that Bibrade was a place of governance, trade, and ritual. Yet, the scale of construction, particularly the defensive walls built from enormous stone blocks, hints at organizational and engineering skills often underestimated for the period. The layout itself evokes both practicality and sophistication. Streets run in geometric patterns, forming districts that appear to balance residential, commercial, and ceremonial functions. Evidence of drainage systems and water management demonstrates a detailed understanding of environmental constraints. The Opendom was not simply a collection of dwellings. It was a living, breathing city, a testament to the ability of humans to shape landscapes and social order with intention and foresight. How did a society without written engineering manuals, mechanized tools, or formalized bureaucracy coordinate such monumental projects? Bibra's construction also raises questions about labor and social hierarchy. Massive stone walls required the mobilization of hundreds, perhaps thousands of workers over decades. Did this labor reflect communal organization, enforced authority, or both? How were knowledge, skill, and instruction transmitted across generations to maintain such precise construction standards? These practical questions, though grounded in archaeology, hint at the broader mystery of human capability. How early societies achieved extraordinary feats with limited technology, yet left little explicit record of their processes. Beyond practical achievements, there is an air of ritual and symbolism at Bibra. Certain terraces, enclosures, and elevated spaces may have served ceremonial purposes aligned with natural features such as the sun, rivers, or prominent hills. While the precise meaning is unknown, some scholars suggest that the oppidum's design encoded cosmological or spiritual significance, a pattern seen across other ancient sites worldwide. Could the spatial order itself reflect the worldview? An effort to harmonize human life with cycles of nature and celestial events? Excavations have also revealed imported artifacts from Mediterranean pottery to Roman coins, implying far-reaching connections with distant regions. Bibra was not isolated. It participated in networks of trade, cultural exchange, and perhaps diplomacy. This interplay between local innovation and external influence complicates our understanding of the site. Did foreign knowledge contribute to its construction, or did the Edi develop their urban strategies independently? Speculative interpretations have emerged around the Appidome's sudden decline. By the late 1st century BCE, by Brock was largely abandoned in favor of nearby settlements under Roman administration. Some theorists propose that environmental factors, resource depletion, or shifting trade routes played a role. Others suggest social or political upheaval disrupted long-standing organizational structures. Yet, the precise combination of forces remains unclear. How could a city so carefully planned, so strategically located, be deserted within a generation? Walking among the ruins today, one is struck by the interplay of scale, detail, and landscape. Moss-covered stones form remnants of walls and terraces. Faint traces of streets hint at daily life, and the surrounding forest whispers of centuries of human habitation now faded. Bibra does not awe through verticality like Sagira or Durkagalu, but it captivates through evidence of sophisticated planning, communal coordination, and enduring design. Its secrets are subtle, layered in stone, soil, and shadow. Perhaps the most compelling mystery of Bibra lies not in its size or artifacts, but in the gap between what survives and what is lost. The city's physical footprint offers clues, but cannot fully reveal the beliefs, decisions, and knowledge that guided its construction. How did the inhabitants conceive of space, labor, and ritual? What technologies, now forgotten, enabled them to manipulate their environment so deliberately? And how many other aids built with equal care and complexity have vanished without leaving a trace? As the sun sets over Muve, shadows stretch across the ancient terraces, and the wind stirs the leaves, carrying faint echoes of a Longoni urban heartbeat. Bibra reminds us that monumental human achievement need not always be monumental in form. Sometimes it endures quietly, hidden in plain sight. Awaiting careful observation and patient reflection. It is a testament to the ingenuity, ambition, and mystery of prehistoric and ancient societies, and an invitation to wonder what knowledge remains buried, waiting to be rediscovered in the stone and soil of a world long past. From the windswept terraces of Bray, where forests cloak the remnants of carefully planned streets, our journey now carries us across the Atlantic, far into the Andean highlands of northern Peru. Here, amidst steep mountains and mist-shrouded valleys, rises a fortress unlike any other in the Americas, Quilp. Even from a distance, the site commands attention. Its massive stone walls clinging to the ridges, like a city carved directly into the mountain itself. A testament to ambition and vision that resonates across time, Quilp is immediately striking for its scale and isolation. Enclosed by towering limestone walls that reach up to 20 meters in height and stretch over 600 meters in length, the fortress seems almost impregnable. Inside, hundreds of circular stone structures cluster along narrow terraces, forming a labyrinth of dwellings, plazas, and passageways. The sheer density of construction, combined with the complexity of its layout, creates a sense of order and purpose that is difficult to reconcile with the limited technology available to the Chachapoa culture, the builders of this enigmatic site. Dating suggests that Quilp was constructed between the 6th and 16th centuries CE, while before the arrival of the Incas. Yet, it remained an active and significant settlement until the Spanish conquest. Mainstream archaeology frames the fortress as a defensive stronghold and ceremonial center, strategically positioned to control the Utcaba Valley below. Its location is as much psychological as it is tactical. Elevated above the mist and clouds, Quilp projects authority, secrecy, and permanence. But questions remain about the methods of its construction. How did the Chacha transport enormous stone blocks up steep forested slopes without the wheel, draft animals, or written engineering plans? Inside the walls, the circular stone structures reveal intricate craftsmanship. Stones are fitted with remarkable precision, often without mortar, yet forming walls strong enough to withstand earthquakes and centuries of weather. Many of the dwellings feature internal niches and stairways, suggesting functional sophistication, while their arrangement hints at complex social organization. The density of habitation, the alignment of structures, and the careful planning of access points imply that the Chachapoa possessed advanced knowledge of urban design, spatial hierarchy, and communal coordination. Archaeologists have also noted elements that suggest ceremonial or ritual significance. Certain structures are larger than others, some positioned at key vantage points overlooking valleys or the surrounding peaks. Could these have been temples, council halls, or spaces for astronomical observation? The fortress's elevation offers unobstructed views of the sun, moon, and stars. And some researchers speculate that Quilp may have been aligned with celestial events, integrating cosmology into its very layout. Yet definitive evidence remains elusive, leaving ample room for contemplation. Beyond engineering and ritual, Quilp carries an aura of secrecy and mystery. The fortress is difficult to access, hidden within dense cloud forests, and only a handful of routes lead to its entrances. This isolation raises questions about the community that inhabited it. Was it primarily defensive, protecting against rival groups? Or did the location serve more symbolic purposes, projecting power, signaling exclusivity, or connecting with spiritual realms? The duality of practical and symbolic function deepens the sense of enigma that surrounds the site. Speculative interpretations have emerged around Quilp's cultural and technological sophistication. Some theorists point to its similarity with other high-altitude fortresses in the Andes, suggesting that a network of knowledge about stone construction, urban planning, and possibly astronomy may have existed across cultures prior to the Incas. Others note that the circular architecture rare in other Andean sites may reflect unique social or spiritual principles encoded in the very form of the buildings. Could these circular dwellings represent cosmological beliefs, social hierarchy, or a language of geometry now lost to history? The fortress's abandonment is another puzzle. By the time of Spanish incursions in the 16th century, Kulap was no longer a thriving center. The reasons for its decline remain unclear. Environmental changes, disease, conflict, or shifts in trade networks may have contributed. Yet, the precision of its construction and the density of its stone clusters suggest a society capable of remarkable long-term planning. What knowledge, organization, and cultural memory disappeared with the Cheshire's departure? Visiting Kulap today, the impression is both awe-inspiring and humbling. Mist drifts through the corridors and terraces, partially obscuring the massive walls and clustered stone dwellings. The mountain slopes beneath, deep and green, echo with the ghosts of a civilization that transformed the landscape without leaving behind written records that, unlike monumental sites in other parts of the world, Kulap is at once defensive, domestic, and ceremonial, a multi-dimensional achievement that blends human ingenuity with the raw drama of nature. The questions linger as the sun falls behind the peaks. How did the Chachapoa design such a fortress with such precision and isolation? Were the circular structures purely functional? Or did they encode cosmological knowledge and social order? And what of the countless stones and terraces that remain unexcavated or hidden beneath centuries of soil and vegetation? Each unanswered question reinforces a singular truth. Kulap is not merely a fortress, but a testament to human creativity, ambition, and the mysteries that endure in places where history has been only partially revealed. As shadows lengthen over the Andean ridges, Kulap stands silently, monumental yet intimate. A city in stone that defies simple explanation, that it challenges assumptions about prehistoric construction, social organization, and technological capability. And it invites reflection, urging us to consider not only what ancient societies accomplished, but also what knowledge remains hidden, waiting for those willing to ascend its terraces, walk its corridors, and peer into the mist of time. From the mist-laden heights of Kulap, where stone walls cling to Andean ridges and circular dwellings echo the ingenuity of the Chacha, our exploration now shifts slightly southward, following the contours of the highlands into the region around Lake Titicaca. Here, perched on windswept hilltops overlooking the deep blue waters, rise the Silistani Chopas, ancient towers that are at once solemn, mysterious, and strikingly precise. At first sight, the Chopas appear as silent sentinels, cylindrical stone towers rising from terrace hillsides, their weathered surfaces catching the light of the setting sun. Many stand at top cliffs, their vertical forms echoing the cliffs themselves, as if grown from the earth rather than constructed by human hands. Some soar over 10 meters high, built from finely cut and shaped stones fitted together with meticulous care. Their seams are so tight that even a knife cannot slip between them. The visual effect is almost surreal. Human craftsmanship in perfect harmony with the natural landscape, resisting time, wind, and occasional seismic tremors. Dating suggests that most of these towers were constructed between the 11th and 15th centuries CE, associated with the Kao people, predecessors of the Inca in the region. They served as burial sites for elite members of society, housing remains, offerings, and symbolic artifacts. Mainstream archaeology interprets the Chopas as reflections of social hierarchy, spiritual belief, and the complex mortuary practices of pre-Incan cultures. Yet, even within this conventional framework, the Silistani towers provoke awe and questions that linger beyond the explanatory reach of historical analysis. The engineering of the Chopas is exceptional. Stones, some weighing several tons, were quarried, transported, and carefully stacked in near-perfect cylindrical forms. Many towers taper slightly toward the top, creating a stability that has allowed them to endure centuries of harsh weather. Entrances are precisely oriented, typically facing east, suggesting a connection with the rising sun and the symbolic significance of light itinerary ritual. How did these communities move and position such massive stones with apparent precision using only simple tools and manpower? And how did they develop the knowledge to construct towers that would remain standing through centuries of natural stress? Inside the chalpas, the mystery deepens. Some contain niches or chambers for multiple burials, while others appear singular in purpose. The alignment of stones, the selection of materials, and the orientation of the entrances hint at ritual significance, possibly connected to the stars, the sun, or the cycles of the agricultural calendar. Some researchers suggest that these towers may have functioned as markers linking the earth to the sky, the living to the dead. Could they have been intended as celestial observatories as well as tombs? The precision with which they were constructed implies an understanding of geometry, weight distribution, and perhaps even astronomy far more sophisticated than the surrounding environment would suggest. Speculative interpretations abound, though evidence remains circumstantial. The tower's imposing locations perched on cliffs above Lake Titicaca or isolated hills give them a commanding view of the surrounding valleys. Some suggest that the chalpas functioned as both tombs and territorial markers, reinforcing social control while maintaining spiritual authority. Others propose more esoteric functions: encoded knowledge of cosmology, sacred geometry, or ancestral power preserved in stone. The repetition of cylindrical forms, the careful orientation of entrances, and the harmony with the landscape all point toward a culture deeply attuned to symbolism and the natural world. Beyond their construction and placement, the chalpas also pose questions about cultural continuity. The Kala people preceded the Inca, yet many of the architectural principles, stone cutting, precision stacking, and ceremonial orientation appear echoed in later Incan structures. Was there a direct transmission of technical knowledge, or were these skills independently rediscovered? And if such expertise existed long before the Inca, what other monuments or knowledge might have been lost to time, buried beneath layers of history, or obscured by conquest? Visiting Silistani today, one is struck by the silence and isolation. The wind sweeps across terrace hills, rattling the stones, and Lake Titicaca shimmers below, reflecting sky and mountain alike. The towers loom over the landscape, both commanding and contemplative, evoking a sense of connection between humanity, nature, and the divine. Standing amidst them, it becomes clear that their purpose was more than functional. They are statements symbolic and enduring of a people attempting to reconcile mortality, authority, and cosmic order. What remains most compelling is the unanswered question of intention. Were the chalpas designed primarily to honor and protect the dead? Or did they serve a more expansive role linking living communities with their ancestors, celestial cycles, or spiritual power? How did the builders acquire the knowledge and coordination to erect these towers with such precision and resilience? And what other practices, technologies, or philosophies remain invisible, encoded in ways we may not yet recognize? As the sun sets behind the Andes, casting long shadows across the hills and glinting off the waters of Titicaca, the Silistani chalpas stand in solemn testament to human ingenuity. They are monuments that resist easy interpretation, inviting contemplation rather than conclusion. In their stones, we glimpse both achievement and mystery. A reminder that across continents and cultures, prehistoric societies created structures that challenge our understanding, enduring long after the people themselves have vanished. The questions they pose are as enduring as the towers themselves, inviting us to wonder what knowledge, skill, and vision remains hidden, awaiting rediscovery in the quiet heights of the Andes, from the windswept heights of Silistani, where cylindrical chalpas cling to Andean cliffs above the shimmering waters of Lake Titicaca. Our journey now carries us across the vast Pacific to a land of mountains, mist, and islands shaped by volcanic forces. Japan, hidden among the dense forests. and rocky ridges of the Iwami region of Honshu lies an enigmatic stone structure known as Masuda no Iwan, or rock ship of Masuda. Its very name evokes mystery, conjuring images of vessels carved from stone and journeys suspended between earth and sky. Masuda no I assume is immediately arrested. The monument is a massive rectangular block of andite, roughly 11 meters long, 8 meters wide, and over 4 meters tall, resting atop a high plateau with an expansive view of the surrounding mountains. What makes it extraordinary is not just its size, but the precision with which it was carved. The stone is smoothly hewn, its surface is flat, its corners sharply defined, and a series of carefully drilled grooves and rectangular cavities adorn the top, suggesting functionality or perhaps symbolism that has long eluded explanation. The overall impression is that of a monument simultaneously monumental and enigmatic, crafted with intent yet shrouded in uncertainty. Dating Masuda no Iwafan has proven difficult. Some scholars associate it with the Kofun period, roughly the 3rd to 6th century CE, based on stylistic and regional clues, while others suggest it may be older, potentially part of a prehistoric tradition of megalithic construction in Japan. Unlike tombs or shrines that dominate Japanese archaeology, this structure resists easy categorization. It is neither clearly nor explicitly ritualistic, nor does it appear to be part of any larger complex. Its isolation amplifies its mystery. A massive stone monolith, huge with extraordinary care, left in relative solitude atop a mountain plateau. Mainstream interpretations suggest a variety of possibilities. Some propose it functioned as a base for a wooden structure, perhaps a shrine or watchtower. Others point to the carved grooves and channels, hypothesizing that they may have been used to guide water, support wooden beams, or serve as part of an astronomical or cylindrical system. Each theory highlights a human capacity for precision, coordination, and planning, but none fully account for the monument's scale, placement, or the sophistication of its execution. How did ancient builders shape and transport such a colossal stone without cranes, pulleys, or modern engineering tools? And why here in this particular mountain plateau with no obvious surrounding settlement? Beyond technical questions, the structure invites speculation about symbolic or spiritual significance. The very form of Masudano, a rectangular ship of stone, suggests movement, transition, or connection. Was it intended to symbolize a journey perhaps between worlds, the living and the dead, or the terrestrial and the celestial? Some researchers note that the orientation of the stone roughly aligns with nearby topographical features, though precise astronomical alignments remain debated. Could this be a deliberate encoding of knowledge linking the monument to the cycles of sun, moon, or stars? The techniques used to carve Masuda also provoke wonder. Its sheer size and uniformity imply not only knowledge of stone cutting, but an understanding of leverage, stress, and structural stability. The grooves along the top, some shallow and others deeply incised, suggest repeated, deliberate action, measurements, planning, and tools of extraordinary precision. Could these marks encode instructions, rituals, or methods now lost? And what of the logistics of moving and placing the block itself, weighing many tons in a location difficult to access even today? Speculative theories abound. Some suggest the monument may have had an astronomical purpose, functioning as a marker of celestial events or as part of a ritual landscape tied to sun and moon cycles. Others propose symbolic interpretations, seeing the ship as a vessel for the soul or as an offering to mountain deities. More fringe ideas posit connections with lost or unknown prehistoric knowledge, perhaps echoing global traditions of megalithic construction. While evidence remains elusive, the diversity of interpretations underscores a profound truth. Masuda now resists definitive explanation. The surrounding landscape adds to the enigmatic atmosphere. From the plateau, one can see rolling mountains, dense forests, and distant rivers snaking through valleys. The isolation of the site creates a sense of deliberate placement. Was this monument meant to dominate the landscape, to be seen from afar, or to be encountered only by those initiated into its purpose? Its remote location, combined with the precision of its construction, hints at a culture capable of extraordinary planning, yet one whose cultural context has largely been lost. Visiting Masuda no Iwafuni today, the impression is one of quiet awe. The wind sweeps across the stone's flat surfaces, carrying the scent of moss and earth, while shadows accentuate the deep grooves and sharp edges. It is easy to imagine ancient hands chiseling, smoothing and shaping, working with intention. But for reasons we can only speculate about, the structure embodies both human ingenuity and the enduring enigma of prehistoric ambition. A monument that speaks as much through what is unknown as through what is visible. Perhaps the most compelling mystery is not only how it was built, but why. Was Masuda no Iwan a ceremonial platform, a symbolic vessel, a solar marker, or something else entirely? Did it represent cosmological knowledge, political authority, or spiritual power? And what other structures, hidden or destroyed, might have existed nearby, part of a network or cultural landscape now vanished? As the sun dips behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the plateau, Masuda no Iwafuni stands in quiet contemplation. Its surfaces reflect the fading light, while the grooves and channels hint at purpose yet unresolved. Here in the isolation of the Japanese highlands, we are reminded once again that prehistoric societies across continents and cultures were capable of feats to continue to challenge modern understanding. The questions it raises endure. What knowledge, skill, and intention allowed its creation, and what secrets remain hidden, waiting to be discovered in the silent stone of Masuda? From the windswept plateau of Masuda no Iwafuni, where massive stones rest in serene isolation amid Japan's misty highlands, our journey now arcs westward across the vast Eurasian continent into the heart of the Carpathian Mountains of Romania. Here, among dense forests, rugged peaks, and hidden valleys, lie the ruins of Sarmatusaria, the former capital of the Dian Kingdom. Perched atop a high plateau, this ancient settlement exudes an aura of power, ritual, and mystery, blending architectural ingenuity with the natural landscape in ways that continue to captivate and confound modern researchers. Sarmatusaria immediately impresses through its integration with the terrain. Stone terraces cling to the mountain slopes. Circular and rectangular enclosures rise from the earth, and remnants of defensive walls trace the contours of ridges as if grown from the land itself. From a distance, it resembles a fortress born of the mountains, each structure carefully positioned to dominate the surrounding valleys. The complexity is not merely defensive. It suggests meticulous urban planning, ceremonial intent, and an understanding of spatial harmony. Historical records and archaeological research date the site to roughly the 1st centuries BCE and CE, marking it as the political and religious center of the Dian. Before the Roman conquest. Mainstream scholarship describes Sarmatusa as a fortified capital with defensive walls, residential areas, and a sacred zone containing sanctuaries and circular stone platforms. Excavations reveal traces of dwellings, altars, and a network of roads connecting terraces, all demonstrating a society capable of sophisticated construction and social organization. Yet the precision of the stonework, particularly in the sacred areas, raises questions that go beyond functional explanation. The sacred precincts are perhaps the most enigmatic. Circular stone platforms, often interpreted as sanctuaries or altars, are arranged with apparent attention to Astronomical phenomena. Some researchers note alignments with solstices or lunar cycles, suggesting that the Dacians possessed advanced observational knowledge and deliberately encoded it in their architecture. The platforms themselves are constructed with precisely cut sandstone blocks forming concentric circles or step terraces. The regularity and craftsmanship are striking, particularly considering the absence of written records or metal tools, sophisticated enough to facilitate such precision. How did they achieve such architectural accuracy? And what knowledge guided their design? The defensive structures of Samatusaria also evoke awe. Massive stone walls, sometimes over 4 meters thick, wind along ridgelines, incorporating natural outcrops to enhance their strength. Access points are carefully controlled with terraces and narrow passages, creating choke points that amplify the defender's advantage. Yet, the site was not purely militaristic. Residential terraces, water channels, and storage areas indicate careful attention to the daily lives of inhabitants. This combination of practical utility, ceremonial sophistication, and defensive design points to a civilization capable of integrating multiple forms of knowledge into a single landscape. Speculative interpretations emerge when considering the purpose of the sacred platforms and circular enclosures. Some suggest they were not only sites of ritual, but instruments for astronomical observation or even energy-based practices, as proposed by researchers exploring archaeoastronomy and geomancy. The alignment of stones, the choice of elevation, and the concentric arrangement may have been intended to interact with light, shadow, or other natural phenomena in ways not yet fully understood. Could Samatusaria have served as a hub of spiritual and cosmic knowledge, a place where the Daeans sought to connect the terrestrial with the celestial? Archaeological evidence also hints at societal complexity. The scale of construction, the uniformity of terraces, and the organization of residential versus ceremonial areas suggests centralized planning and administrative control. Labor mobilization, resource management, and architectural knowledge would have required coordinated effort across generations. How was such expertise transmitted in the absence of formal documentation? And what social, religious, or political forces sustained these efforts, ensuring that Samatusaria became both a functional capital and a spiritual heart of the kingdom? The Roman conquest of Discia in 106 CE brought significant upheaval. Many of the structures were destroyed or repurposed. Yet the terraces, sanctuaries, and massive walls endured. The remnants speak not only of conflict, but of resilience, as the very stones that resisted conquest continue to evoke wonder today. Their survival raises questions about construction techniques, materials, and methods, knowledge that may have been highly specialized and largely lost with the fall of the Daean kingdom. Visiting Samatusaria today, one is struck by the interplay of human ambition and natural topography. Mist drifts through terraces, highlighting concentric stone platforms and remnants of walls. Forests and valleys stretch outward, providing a sense of both isolation and dominance. The site conveys the presence of a civilization attuned to both earth and sky, capable of translating cosmology, spirituality, and governance into stone. Yet, it also humbles the observer, reminding us of the gaps in our understanding. Perhaps the most compelling mystery is not just the architecture, but the knowledge that guided it. How did the Daean plan, measure, and construct terraces with such precision in a rugged environment? Were the sacred enclosures purely symbolic? Or did they serve functional, astronomical, or ritualistic purposes beyond our comprehension? And how much of their broader knowledge, encoded in these structures, vanished alongside the society that built them? As the sun lowers behind the Carpathian peaks, casting long shadows across terraces and sanctuaries, Samatusaria stands in quiet majesty, its stonework, its alignment, and its enduring presence invite reflection on the capacity of prehistoric and ancient civilizations to achieve feats that continue to challenge modern understanding. The questions remain unresolved and compelling, urging us to consider what secrets still lie hidden in the terraces, altars, and walls of this extraordinary mountain citadel dot from the mountain terraces of Sarm Zagatusarea, where stone sanctuaries and circular platforms whisper of Dayan knowledge and ritual. Our journey now carries us thousands of kilometers southeast to the tropical archipelago of Indonesia. Here atop a volcanic plateau in West Java lies Gunung Padang, an enigmatic megalithic site that rises through the dense jungle like a memory of a forgotten civilization. Its stones catch the morning mist in a manner both serene and uncanny. Gunung Padang stretches across the slopes of a modest hill, but the scale of its construction belies the gentle topography. Terrace platforms ascend the hill, forming a stepped landscape of massive basalt columns, some weighing several tons, meticulously arranged to create broad, flat surfaces. The terraces themselves are reinforced with retaining walls, suggesting both deliberate engineering and a long-term vision of structural stability. From a distance, the site resembles a natural rock formation. Yet closer inspection reveals unmistakable evidence of human modification, shaped blocks, precisely fitted stones, and patterns that repeat across terraces as though governed by an architectural plan. Archaeological investigation dates portions of the site to around 2500 to 1500 BCE, situating Gunung Padang firmly in Indonesia's megalithic period. Excavations have revealed multiple layers, each rising above the previous, suggesting successive phases of construction over centuries, or perhaps millennia. Mainstream interpretations presented it as a ceremonial site, possibly a center for ritual gatherings or ancestor veneration. But the complexity of the terraces and the engineering involved points to capabilities that challenge conventional expectations of prehistoric societies in the region. How could communities without metal tools or modern engineering knowledge manipulate such massive stones and create enduring layered terraces with such precision? One of the most remarkable features of Gunung Padang is the arrangement of the megaliths. Columns are not merely stacked but interlocked, forming dense matrices that resist movement and erosion. The precision of the fit, in some cases with stone surfaces polished and leveled to near perfect flatness, suggests both understanding of mechanics and deliberate attention to durability. Could these terraces have functioned as platforms for observation, ritual, or even proto-astronomical purposes? Some researchers propose alignments with solar phenomena, hinting that the builders may have encoded cosmological node within the very geometry of the site. Yet, Gunung Padang is more than a single layer of construction. Excavations reveal deeper strata beneath the visible terraces, including compacted soil, volcanic rock, and buried stone structures. Radiocarbon dating and geophysical surveys have sparked intense debate. Some suggest these lower layers may be thousands of years older than the upper visible terraces, potentially making Gunung Padang one of the oldest known megalithic sites in the world. If this is the case, it raises profound questions about human capability and organization in prehistoric Indonesia. What knowledge, social structure, and labor coordination would have been necessary to construct such monumental terraces in a tropical volcanic landscape? Speculative interpretations naturally emerge. Some propose that Gunung Padang may have functioned not only as a ceremonial site, but as a center of ancient knowledge, linking earth and sky, society and ritual. The repetition of terraces, the alignment of stones, and the integration with the natural slope of the hill suggest an intentional relationship with the surrounding landscape. Could the terraces themselves have been symbolic? A physical manifestation of social hierarchy, cosmology, or sacred geography? The site invites reflection on the ways early societies encoded meaning in stone, knowledge that may no longer be accessible through conventional archaeology. The technical aspects of construction also deepen the mystery. How did the builders quarry and transport enormous basalt columns, some weighing multiple tons, without modern tools or draft animals? How were terraces leveled across uneven terrain? And why was the hill chosen rather than a naturally flat plateau? The placement at top of a volcanic slope may have been strategic, offering visibility, isolation, or symbolic significance. But the logistics of building there remain puzzling. These questions speak not only to engineering, but to human ambition, foresight, and the desire to shape the landscape in ways that endure across millennia. Gunung Padang's secrecy is reinforced by its location. Surrounded by jungle hidden from the lowlands, it is a site that demands effort to access. Its terraces rise in layers, sometimes obscured by vegetation or the slope itself, creating the impression that the hill is alive with history, holding knowledge beneath each stone and beneath each level of construction. The experience of moving through the terraces is one of immersion, of being simultaneously dwarfed by the scale and enveloped by the human intention embedded in the stone. Visiting the site today, one is struck by both its beauty and its unanswered questions. The basalt columns, the terrace slopes, the faint traces of ancient pathways. They all speak of human skill and ambition, yet they leave us with a profound sense of incompletion. The lower layers, still partially unexcavated, hint at histories and techniques not fully understood. How many generations contributed to these terraces? What rituals, knowledge, or social structures guided their creation? And what might remain hidden, not just beneath soil and stone, but in the cultural memory that has long since faded? As the sun descends behind the volcanic peaks, casting shadows across the terraces, Gunung Padang stands as a monument to human ingenuity and mystery. Its layered construction, its integration with the natural slope, and the sheer precision of its stones invite contemplation, not answers. It challenges modern assumptions about prehistoric societies, labor, and knowledge, suggesting that even in regions far from the traditional centers of civilization, humans were capable of feats that continue to inspire wonder. And so the questions endure. Who first shaped these terraces? And why? What knowledge was required to design and execute such a monumental site? How much of that knowledge has been lost, buried beneath centuries of earth and obscured by the jungle? Gunung Padang remains silent, yet its stones speak in ways that demand attention, curiosity, and reflection. An enduring puzzle at the intersection of nature, human ambition, and the mysteries of the prehistoric world. From the terrace slopes of Gunung Padang, where massive basalt columns rise through the misty jungle of West Java, our journey once again returns to the high Andes of Peru, where mountain peaks, hidden valleys, and sacred landscapes converge in ways both awe-inspiring and enigmatic. Among the craggy cliffs near Lake Titicaca and the mist-draped forests of the Puno region lies Aramu Muru, a site that, though smaller and less formally excavated than the great fortresses and terraces we have explored, exudes an aura of profound mystery. Aramu Muru is often described as a rock-cut monument carved directly from the mountainside in a remote location near the village of Pukina. The centerpiece is a massive rectangular niche sculpted into a cliff face. Its smooth vertical surfaces contrast sharply with the rugged natural stone surrounding it. The niche is roughly 2 meters wide, over 2 meters high, and about half a meter deep, forming a recessed portal that appears deliberate, precise, and symbolic. At its base lies a flat stone floor, polished and level, as if designed to receive offerings, ceremonies, or perhaps the passage of something or someone beyond the physical plane. What makes Aramu Muru especially compelling is its isolation. It is not part of a larger urban settlement or ceremonial complex, but stands alone, accessible only by a steep and rugged path that weaves through forested slopes and past. Scattered rock formations dot the site's seclusion contributes to its enigmatic character. It is a space that demands contemplation, one that feels deliberately hidden, perhaps reserved for initiates or for rituals of a private and profound nature. Its very placement challenges conventional explanations of prehistoric or pre-Incan construction, prompting us to ask why such effort was expended on a site so remote. Mainstream archaeological interpretations are limited in part because the site has received little formal excavation. Some scholars suggest it may have been a ceremonial niche used in rituals tied to ancestor veneration, astronomical observation, or spiritual journeying. Its rectangular form and polished surfaces indicate deliberate design, yet the absence of accompanying artifacts or structural remains leaves its purpose largely speculative. In this sense, Aramumuru occupies a liminal space between archaeology and legend, inviting both scientific inquiry and imaginative contemplation. The monument itself is remarkable for the precision of its carving. The stone surfaces are remarkably smooth with sharp corners and a clear geometric form that distinguishes it from the surrounding natural rock. The edges of the niche are straight and deliberate, and the overall proportions evoke a sense of balance and intentionality. How is such a precise cut achieved in solid stone without metal chisels of sufficient durability? And why carve a portal so large, so perfectly shaped, yet leave it isolated at the top of a mountain slope? These questions point to a sophistication of skill, planning, and purpose that exceeds what might be expected from small prehistoric communities in this region. Local legend has imbued Aramumuru with an even deeper sense of mystery. The site is sometimes called the Gate of the Gods, and folklore describes the niche as a portal to other realms or dimensions. Stories speak of energy, passage, and transcendence, suggesting that those who entered the niche might experience profound spiritual or metaphysical journeys. While such accounts fall outside mainstream scientific investigation, they reflect the cultural and symbolic weight the site has carried for generations. Could these legends hint at a historical understanding of the site's significance encoded not in written text, but in oral memory and ritual practice? The surrounding landscape reinforces the monument's enigmatic presence. Towering cliffs, jagged rocks, and mist-shrouded peaks create a natural amphitheater, amplifying both its visual impact and its sense of seclusion. The niche faces outward toward a broad valley and distant mountains, suggesting that its position was chosen deliberately. Was this alignment symbolic, practical, or both? Could the monument have been used in conjunction with celestial observations, seasonal cycles, or the tracking of stars and sunrises as seen in other Andean sites? The interplay between natural geography and human modification is subtle yet profound, indicating a sophisticated awareness of environment, orientation, and symbolism. Speculative interpretations extend further. Some researchers and enthusiasts propose that Aramumuru may have been part of a larger, now lost complex of sacred sites connected by lines of energy or pathways hidden beneath forest and earth. Others note similarities between its form and other rock-cut niches or ceremonial portals across the Andes, suggesting a shared cultural or spiritual vocabulary. The very act of carving a recessed portal into a cliff, as opposed to freestanding construction, may reflect a philosophy in which stone and mountain are inseparable, where human effort complements rather than dominates nature. Could this approach represent a worldview, a spiritual or cosmological understanding encoded directly into the landscape? Aramumuru also invites reflection on the technical capabilities of its builders. The precision of the cut, the smoothness of the surfaces, and the geometric clarity of the niche all indicate not only skill, but a sophisticated understanding of stone properties and manipulation, transporting, shaping, and polishing such rock in a remote and elevated location would have required careful planning, coordinated effort, and knowledge passed through generations. What tools, techniques, or social structures enabled this work? And how many other sites, similarly skillful yet lost to time, once dotted the Andean highlands? The site's isolation and the surrounding natural environment create an atmosphere that is almost tangible. A sense of quiet, reverence, and potential energy standing before the niche. One feels both the weight of human intention and the vastness of the landscape. A duality echoed across many prehistoric sites we have explored. Unlike urban centers or monumental fortresses, Aramumuru's power is subtle, rooted in precision, placement, and symbolism rather than sheer-scale dot. It reminds us that human ingenuity can manifest in ways both grand and intimate, monumental yet understated. Visiting today, one cannot help but sense the questions embedded in the stone. Why carve a portal here in this precise form and location? Was it a site for ritual, spiritual passage, astronomical observation, or a combination of these? How much knowledge lost to time informed its creation? And what other secrets might the Indian mountains still conceal, waiting to be revealed through patient exploration and study? As the sun dips behind the peaks, casting long shadows across forest and cliff, Aramumuru stands as a silent witness to human ambition, creativity, and mystery. Its smooth surfaces and precise geometry speak across centuries, a reminder that prehistoric and ancient societies were capable of feats that continue to challenge modern understanding. The niche invites reflection, curiosity, and wonder. A portal not only in stone, but in imagination, through which we glimpse the depth of human knowledge and the enduring enigmas of the past. The questions endure. Who first carved this niche and for what ultimate purpose? What knowledge guided its creation, now mostly lost to time? And how much more of the Andes' hidden heritage remains undiscovered, waiting beneath layers of earth, stone, and legend? Aramumuru does not answer these questions. It compels us to ask them, to search, and to consider the vast, still unseen capacities of the human spirit in the prehistoric world. From the mist-shrouded cliffs and sacred niches of Aramumuru in the Andean highlands, where human craftsmanship merges seamlessly with mountain and stone, our journey now arcs northward across continents to the banks of the Danube River in modern-day Serbia. Here in the Iron Gates Gorge lies Linski Vrh, one of Europe's most enigmatic prehistoric settlements, a site that bridges the worlds of art, architecture, and ritual in ways that continue to challenge our understanding of early human ingenuity. At first glance, Linski Vrh is defined by its proximity to the river. The settlement occupies a terrace overlooking the Danube, where the water's steady flow reflects sunlight across the surrounding cliffs. The site's natural environment is both dramatic and strategic. Steep rock faces rise behind the settlement, while the river provides sustenance, transportation, and perhaps symbolic significance. Yet what draws immediate attention is not merely the location, but the architecture embedded within it. Buildings carved, arranged, and oriented with a precision that hints at knowledge far beyond subsistence needs. The structures of Linski Vrh are distinctive. Unlike typical prehistoric settlements, where dwellings are often simple and functional, here we find trapezoidal houses, each constructed with carefully laid stone foundations and interior hearths. The orientation of the buildings appears deliberate, with entrances facing the river, suggesting a relationship between the settlement and the waterway that goes beyond practical access. Excavations reveal that these structures were built in successive layers with evidence of repairs, modifications, and adaptations over time, indicating both long-term occupation and a culture of continual refinement. Dating places Linski Vrh at roughly 9,500 to 6000 BCE, making it a Mesolithic settlement of extraordinary sophistication. Mainstream archaeology emphasizes its significance as one of Europe's earliest planned communities. Yet the site transcends simple classification. The alignment of buildings, the careful selection of building materials, and the integration with the surrounding landscape suggest that the inhabitants were thinking not only in functional terms, but in symbolic and possibly cosmological ones. Why did they invest such effort in shaping dwellings that are trapezoidal rather than circular or rectangular, as was common in other contemporaneous settlements? What did this form signify to those who lived here? Perhaps the most striking feature of Linski Vir is its sculptural legacy. Throughout the settlement, researchers have uncovered stone sculptures of human heads and figures, often with fish-like or bird-like features carved in high relief. These works are not decorative. They appear intimately tied to the architecture and layout of the settlement. Some are integrated into building foundations or positioned along key pathways. The interplay between sculpture and dwelling implies a worldview in which human life, ritual, and environment were inseparable. A society in which architecture itself carried spiritual or symbolic meaning. Speculative interpretations abound. Some scholars propose that the trapezoidal structures mimic the forms of the surrounding cliffs, creating a microcosm of the natural landscape within the settlement. Others suggest that the sculptures and orientations encode astronomical knowledge aligning with solstices or celestial events. There are even suggestions that the site functioned as a ritual center where river, rock, and human construction were intertwined in ceremonies connecting the community to ancestors, deities, or cosmological cycles. While direct evidence for these interpretations is limited, the deliberate precision of both buildings and art encourages contemplation of their deeper significance. The technical capabilities of the Linski V inhabitants also invite inquiry. The stone foundations are remarkably uniform, and the construction required not only quarrying and transporting large blocks, but shaping them to fit within trapezoidal forms. The skill, coordination, and knowledge necessary for such construction imply social organization, planning, and perhaps standardized techniques passed across generations. How did a megalithic community without advanced tools or metallurgy achieve such precision? And what motivated the design choices that continue to intrigue archaeologists today? Beyond architecture and sculpture, the settlement's spatial organization adds to the sense of mystery. Houses are clustered in patterns that suggest both communal cohesion and individual differentiation. Some structures are larger, possibly housing extended families or serving as communal spaces, while smaller ones may have had more specialized functions. The integration of hearths, storage pits, and sculptural elements suggests a deliberate balancing of daily life, spiritual practice, and environmental interaction. Was this an early attempt at urban planning or a more symbolic expression of social hierarchy and cosmology? Linski Vir's location itself provokes questions. The settlement occupies a terrace that is vulnerable to flooding. Yet, its position offers commanding views of the Danube and the surrounding landscape. Was this a compromise between practical resource access and symbolic or ritual considerations? Did the river hold spiritual significance, serving as a boundary between worlds or a conduit for the souls of ancestors? The interplay between environment and human intention is palpable, creating a layered complexity that resonates across time. Speculative theories extend even further. Some researchers suggest that the site represents one of the earliest examples of sacred architecture in which human habitation and spiritual practice are inseparable. Others propose that the settlement functioned as a hub for cultural transmission, where knowledge of fishing, navigation, ritual, and stonework converged. The repeated forms, careful alignments, and enduring art hint at a culture capable of abstract thought and sophisticated, symbolic communication far beyond what might be expected of a messianic society. Standing among the ruins today, one is struck by the interplay of permanence and transience. The stone foundations endure, yet the soft earth and forest encroachment remind us that much has been lost to time. The partially eroded sculptures speak of human imagination and intent, yet their full meaning remains inaccessible. The Danube continues to flow as it did thousands of years ago. Its waters reflect the silhouettes of trapezoidal houses connecting the present with the distant past. The mysteries of Linskiver linger in both the tangible and the intangible. How were the trapezoidal forms conceived, and what inspired their construction? What role did the sculptures play in daily life or ritual? How did these early humans organize labor, knowledge, and social structure to achieve such enduring constructions? And perhaps most compellingly, what cultural or spiritual wisdom has been lost, buried with the people who once shaped these stones and walked these terraces? As dusk settles over the Danube Gorge, shadows stretch across the trapezoidal foundations and weathered sculptures. Linskiver stands in quiet testimony to human ingenuity, imagination, and the enduring enigma of prehistoric life. It reminds us that across continents and millennia, societies have constructed not merely shelters, but expressions of identity, spirituality, and knowledge. The questions it poses remain open, inviting reflection, investigation, and wonder, urging us to consider what else may lie hidden along the riverbanks, in the cliffs, and in the collective memory of a world that continues to challenge our understanding. From the terraces of Linskiver, where trapezoidal stone houses and sculpted figures speak of a Mesolithic society, capable of architectural precision and symbolic depth, our journey now arcs southeast, across mountains and plains into the highlands of the South Caucasus. Here at top, the rolling hills of modern-day Armenia lies Karahanj, an ancient complex of standing stones that for millennia has inspired curiosity, reverence, and speculation. Often called the Armenian Stonehenge, Karahanj stretches across the slopes of the Sunik Plateau, where the wind sweeps across meadows and the horizon is punctuated by volcanic peaks and distant ridges. At first sight, Karahanj presents itself as an irregular field of stones scattered across a high plateau, yet arranged with an underlying order. Hundreds of basalt and volcanic stones. Some were shaped into cylindrical forms, others left natural stands erected in shallow pits, their heights varying from less than a meter to over 3 meters. Many feature circular holes drilled through the upper sections, a detail that immediately commands attention from a distance. The site appears almost organic, blending with the undulating terrain. Yet closer inspection reveals patterns, alignments, and orientations that suggest deliberate human intent. The stones are not randomly placed. Pathways, sightlines, and groupings hint at functions lost to history. Dating Karahanj is complex. Archaeologists suggest that its initial construction may date as far back as 7,500 years ago, placing it in the late Neolithic to early Bronze Age. This makes it one of the oldest known megalithic sites in the world. Subsequent additions and modifications appear to have continued over centuries, creating a layered monument that reflects evolving cultural practices. The site's longevity implies both significance and reverence. Generations of people return to these hills to erect, align, and maintain the stones, committing effort over millennia in a landscape often harsh and exposed. Mainstream interpretations frame Karahanj as a ritual or astronomical site. The arrangement of stones, the presence of holes in some megaliths, and the alignments towards specific solar and lunar events suggest that the site may have functioned as an observatory, a calendar, or a place of ceremonial gathering. Some researchers posit that the holes may have served as sighting tools, allowing early observers to track celestial movements with precision. The trapezoidal orientation of certain stone rows hints at sunrise and sunset on solstices, while others may correspond to the moon's cycles. Yet much remains conjectural. For while alignments are measurable, the intent of prehistoric builders can never be known with certainty. The engineering of Karahunch itself is remarkable. Some stones are carefully shaped, others left in more natural forms. Yet all were positioned upright, embedded in pits to withstand centuries of wind, frost, and seismic activity. The act of raising these megaliths, some weighing multiple tons, demands careful planning, coordination, and physical ingenuity. How did prehistoric communities without levers, pulleys, or written instructions transport, orient, and erect these stones? And why invest such effort in a site situated on an exposed plateau, far from major settlements or obvious resources? Beyond the astronomical and technical aspects, the site evokes a profound symbolic presence. The varying heights, the drilled holes, and the placement across the plateau create a rhythm that is both visual and experiential. Walking among the stones, one senses an intentional choreography. Certain stones appear as focal points, others as markers guiding sightlines toward distant peaks or the horizon. Some researchers suggest that the site served as a liminal space where humans could enact rituals, observe celestial cycles, and contemplate the connection between earth and sky. The stones themselves may have represented deities, ancestors, or cosmic forces, encoding belief in tangible form. Speculative theories have arisen in response to Kahunia's mysteries. Some suggest that the site functioned as a center of early scientific observation in which prehistoric people measured time, tracked seasons, and understood astronomical cycles with sophistication that challenges conventional assumptions. Others propose ritualistic or shamanistic interpretations that the stones served as conduits, portals or stages for ceremonies connecting the community with unseen realms. The combination of astronomical alignment, enduring construction, and isolation from major habitation areas amplifies the sense that Karahanj was a place of profound intentionality, one that transcended ordinary settlement concerns. The spatial organization also raises questions about social complexity. Erecting and maintaining hundreds of stones over generations would have required coordination, labor management, and knowledge transmission. How did these communities organize themselves to achieve such feats? And what social or spiritual motivations sustained their efforts? The labor involved, particularly given the site's elevation and exposure, suggests that Karahanj was not merely functional, but deeply significant, a focal point of cultural and possibly cosmological importance. The surrounding landscape contributes to the monument's enigmatic aura. From the plateau, the eye travels across valleys, distant mountains, and volcanic cones, reinforcing a sense of scale and isolation. The location offers both visibility and seclusion, a vantage point that emphasizes connection with the wider environment. Was this chosen for practical observation, for ritual seclusion, or to amplify the site's symbolic resonance within the landscape? The careful integration of megaliths with natural contours suggests that prehistoric builders were attuned not only to stone and labor, but to topography, light, and sightlines. An understanding that resonates with the prehistoric monumental sites worldwide. Walking among the stones today, one is struck by both the human and the cosmic. The drilled holes catch sunlight at certain angles, casting geometric patterns across the plateau. The irregular spacing of stones contrasts with the apparent alignment, creating a sense of mystery that defies simple categorization. Each monolith, weathered by millennia, stands as a testament to intention, skill, and belief. Yet it conceals as much as it reveals. The gaps in our knowledge are tangible, palpable, like the wind that sweeps across the plateau, moving through the stones and across the landscape of history. perhaps the most compelling aspect of Kahunj is the questions it poses. Why were these stones raised in this specific pattern on this particular plateau? How much astronomical, ritual, or symbolic knowledge did the builders possess? And how was it transmitted across generations? What cultural and spiritual traditions inspired them to commit centuries of labor to a site whose meaning remains elusive? And what else might lie buried beneath soil and stone, waiting to be discovered, adding context to the monument that has endured so long? As dusk settles over the Shunik Plateau, casting long shadows across standing stones, Kahunj stands as a silent witness to human ingenuity and imagination. Its upright monoliths, drilled niches, and subtle alignments speak across millennia. A reminder that prehistoric societies possess both technical skill and symbolic depth far beyond what we often assume. The site challenges modern understanding, urging contemplation, reflection, and curiosity. Its mysteries are enduring, inviting us to walk among the stones, trace the horizon, and ponder the intentions of people who lived thousands of years ago, leaving behind a legacy carved in stone that continues to provoke wonder in the fading light. Karahungur remains both monumental and intimate, scientific and spiritual, tangible and elusive. It is a landscape of questions as much as stones, where each monolith gestures toward human ambition, cultural expression, and the unknown. And as the shadows lengthen across the plateau, the most enduring mystery persists. What secrets, knowledge, and meaning lie still hidden among the standing stones, waiting for those who seek to understand the extraordinary reach of prehistoric ingenuity? From the windswept stone circles of Kahunj in Armenia, where standing megaliths rise across high plateaus and align with the passage of sun and moon, our exploration now stretches across deserts and mountains to the Arabian Peninsula. Here in the vast arid expanse of Saudi Arabia's Najd region stands a singular monument that captivates the imagination. The Al-Nazla stone, isolated yet commanding. This monolith rests in quiet majesty amid a flat, stony plain. Its enigmatic form a testament to human intent, or perhaps to forces not fully understood. At first glance, Al-Nazla appears deceptively simple. A single massive sandstone rock, neatly split down the middle, balanced perfectly as if suspended in time. The cleft is nearly impossibly precise, running from the base to the apex of the boulder, creating two symmetrical halves, each stable and immovable. The surface is smooth, flat, and unweathered in ways that seem extraordinary given the harsh desert winds, seasonal temperature fluctuations, and centuries of exposure. Its dimensions are imposing, over 6 meters long, 4 meters wide, and more than 2 meters tall. Yet, the defining feature is the split itself, so clean and exact that it appears almost artificially carved. Geologically, the region is dominated by sandstone formations shaped over millions of years by wind, water, and tectonic activity. Natural fracturing can produce remarkable shapes. Yet, the precision of the Al-Nazla split has defied conventional explanation. The cleft runs in a nearly perfect straight line, splitting the stone into two halves that seem to mirror each other. The balance is impeccable. Despite centuries of erosion and shifting soil, the halves remain upright and aligned as though frozen in a moment of creation. How could such a fracture occur naturally with this degree of symmetry? And why here in this remote expanse? Al-Nazla lies within the larger context of the Tima and Najd desert regions, areas rich with prehistoric rock art, petroglyphs, and archaeological sites indicating human presence dating back thousands of years. Researchers have documented inscriptions and carvings on nearby stones, suggesting that these plains were not entirely uninhabited, but significant for ancient peoples. Yet no traces of tools, construction, or clear ritual activity are directly associated with the al-Nasla stone itself. Its isolation enhances its mystery, that it is neither part of a settlement nor a ceremonial site in any conventional sense, but a solitary monolith commanding attention through sheer presence and geometric perfection. Scientific investigations have largely focused on geological explanations. Some geologists propose that the split could result from natural fissures along bedding planes exacerbated by stress, erosion, or seismic activity over millennia. However, such natural processes rarely produce clefts this uniform and straight, especially in a boulder of this size, leaving room for continued debate. Could ancient humans with the technology available in the region during the late prehistoric period have influenced the split? The possibility raises questions about the sophistication and intent of early societies in manipulating megaliths. The intrigue of al-Nasla deepens when considering its physical balance. The two halves, though split, remain perfectly upright without evidence of support or intervention. The stone's center of gravity is so precise that it has withstood environmental pressures for centuries without tilting or toppling. The surface planes on either side of the split are astonishingly flat and parallel, prompting speculation about the techniques that could achieve such alignment. Could prehistoric peoples have possessed knowledge of geometry, leverage, and structural balance far exceeding conventional assumptions? Or is the cleft the product of an extraordinarily rare geological coincidence, a natural sculpture so precise it defies ordinary explanation? Al-Nasla has inspired both scientific and speculative interpretation. Some researchers suggest it may have been intentionally split by human hands as a symbolic gesture, perhaps marking territory, commemorating an event, or embodying spiritual significance. Others propose astronomical or cylindrical associations, noting that desert monoliths are sometimes aligned with solar or lunar phenomena, though no direct evidence links this stone to such. Alignments. Fringe theories even consider the possibility of unknown or lost technologies, capable of shaping stone with precision, unmatched in the broader archaeological record. While these ideas remain conjectural, they underscore the enduring fascination the stone evokes. The surrounding landscape amplifies the sense of mystery. Wide plains stretch in all directions, dotted with other smaller rocks, yet none possess the same precise division or visual impact. The horizon rises gently toward distant hills, and the desert's quiet expanses create an atmosphere of isolation and timelessness. Standing beside al-Nasla, one is struck by scale and proportion. The stone seems both monumental and intimate, a silent sentinel over the plains, witnessing the slow passage of centuries. Its perfection draws the eye, while its solitude evokes contemplation. Speculative interpretations often consider al-Nasla in the context of prehistoric cultural landscapes. Could it have served as a marker guiding travelers or signaling boundaries? Was it part of a ritual path, a stage for ceremony, or a site where cosmology and landscape intersected? The split itself suggests duality, symmetry, and balance, concepts significant in many ancient belief systems. Its very form prompts reflection on the human desire to impose order on natural forms, or perhaps to recognize and honor patterns already present in the environment. Technically, the stone challenges assumptions about prehistoric capabilities. To achieve such precise splitting manually would require tools and techniques that leave little trace on the surrounding landscape. Yet the cleft's accuracy, its upright stability, and the smoothness of the stone surfaces suggest a level of sophistication and intention that invites wonder. If human hands were involved, what knowledge, skill, and social organization were required? And if the split is natural, how did forces of wind, water, and tectonics produce such near-perfect symmetry? As the sun sets over the notched plains, casting long shadows across the split. The Al-Masla stone exudes a quiet majesty. Its balanced halves, sharp cleft, and solitary presence evoke questions that span geology, archaeology, and the human imagination. It is a place where the limits of natural and human intervention blur, where observation and speculation intersect, and where the ancient world continues to whisper its enigmas. Perhaps the most compelling question remains: is Alna's Law a product of rare geological forces, an artifact of human ingenuity, or a combination of both? What knowledge, purpose, or symbolism lies encoded in its perfect cleft and upright balance? And how many other monuments shaped by forces or hands now lost to time remain hidden across the vast deserts of Arabia? The Al-Masla stone, silent and steadfast, offers no answers, yet invites reflection, curiosity, and awe. A singular testament to the enduring mysteries of prehistoric landscapes, from the windswept plains and solitary monoliths of Al-Masla in Saudi Arabia, where stone splits with uncanny precision and centuries of desert winds have yet to disturb its balance. Our journey now turns westward once again across the Mediterranean to the rugged landscapes of Sardinia, Italy. Here, scattered across hills, valleys, and rocky promontories, stand the neural complexes, prehistoric stone towers whose origins, purpose, and construction continue to intrigue scholars and travelers alike. At first glance, a nurag appears as a simple truncated cone built from massive blocks of local basalt or granite, each carefully fitted without mortar. From a distance, the structures blend seamlessly into the hillsides, as if they have grown from the earth itself. Yet up close, their scale and precision are striking. Some towers rise over 20 meters high, their circular walls curving with meticulous symmetry punctuated by narrow doorways, internal chambers, and labyrinthine passageways. Many nuraghi are solitary, but others are grouped into complex settlements featuring additional towers, bastions, and stone huts forming networks that stretch across the island's diverse terrain. Archaeological research places the earliest neural constructions around 1900 BCE in the Middle Bronze Age. Yet their evolution continued for centuries, spanning the Nuranic civilization into the first millennium BCE. Traditional explanations suggest that nuraghi functioned as fortifications, watchtowers, or community centers. Indeed, their strategic placement on hilltops near water sources and along trade routes supports this view. Yet the scale, sophistication, and uniformity of construction raise questions. What knowledge, social organization, and technical skill were necessary to quarry, transport, and precisely fit massive stones in circular forms, often without mortar, in locations difficult to access even today? The interiors of these towers reveal further mysteries. Narrow corbelled chambers rise in concentric rings, culminating in domed ceilings that demonstrate advanced understanding of weight distribution and structural integrity. The precision with which stones were cut, shaped, and arranged suggests a knowledge of geometry, leverage, and durability that seems remarkable for the time. Some nuraghi include multiple floors connected by stone staircases, internal corridors, and secret chambers, while others feature complex subterranean spaces. These internal arrangements prompt questions not only about daily life, but about ritual or symbolic functions. Were these structures solely practical, or did they also embody spiritual, astronomical, or cultural significance? Many nuri form part of larger complexes, villages, temples, or ceremonial sites, indicating that they were more than isolated fortresses. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of domestic activity, metalwork, and storage within these settlements. Nearby megalithic altars, sacred wells, and stone circles suggest ritual significance, hinting at cosmological or religious practices that may have guided site selection and architectural design. Could the Nuragi themselves have been seen as gateways between worlds or markers aligning human activity with celestial cycles as suggested by some archaeoastronomical studies? The Nuragi's construction techniques remain a subject of fascination. Stones were shaped to fit with remarkable precision, often using a corbelling method that allowed for self-supporting walls and domed chambers. Some blocks weigh multiple tons. Yet, they were raised, positioned, and aligned in ways that continue to impress engineers and architects today. No written record survives to explain the methods, leaving us to speculate. Did these communities rely on sophisticated oral traditions, trial and error expertise, or lost techniques of mechanical leverage? How were labor and resources coordinated across multiple sites to create structures that have endured millennia? Speculative interpretations extend further. Some researchers propose that Nuragi were designed with astronomical observation in mind. Their placement on ridges and hilltops enabling tracking of sun, moon, or star positions. Certain alignments with solstices, equinoxes, and notable celestial events have been noted at multiple sites. Others suggest a symbolic or ritual purpose, proposing that the circular tower-like form represented cosmological ideas, social hierarchy, or spiritual protection. The recurrence of similar forms across the island, despite varying terrain and isolation, implies shared cultural knowledge and collective purpose that remains partially hidden from us. The Nuragi are also notable for their resilience. Many stand in ruin, yet the core structures remain remarkably intact despite earthquakes, centuries of weathering, and human interference. This durability raises questions about material selection, architectural foresight, and the possible transmission of engineering knowledge across generations. How did the builders predict the stresses imposed by time, weather, and gravity? And what techniques allowed them to achieve circular precision, corbelled ceilings, and multi-tiered interiors without mortar or modern machinery? Walking among a Nuragic complex today evokes both awe and contemplation. The towers rise like sentinels across the landscape, their shadows stretching across rocky hills and valleys. Paths wind between structures, revealing traces of habitation, hearths, and communal spaces. In some areas, stone circles, ceremonial wells, or altar-like arrangements hint at spiritual practice. The experience is one of immersion. The scale, geometry, and placement of stones suggest deliberate intention. A civilization attuned not only to survival and defense, but to cosmology, symbolism, and perhaps even identity itself. Despite centuries of study, the Nuragi continued to challenge understanding. Why did these communities invest such immense labor in structures that were not only functional, but architecturally ambitious and enduring? What social, spiritual, or astronomical knowledge guided their construction? How did the Nuragic people communicate and preserve techniques across generations, enabling uniformity and precision despite relative isolation? And what aspects of their culture remain hidden, encoded in stone, and lost to time? The Sardinian landscape enhances the sense of mystery. Rolling hills, limestone cliffs, and hidden valleys surround the Nuragi, offering both strategic vantage points and secluded spaces. The structures interact with light and shadow, wind and weather in ways that may have been intentional, enhancing their ritual or symbolic presence. Standing atop of a hill, one can observe multiple towers in the distance, forming a visual network that suggests coordination, territorial awareness, and perhaps shared cosmological or cultural meaning. As the sun dips toward the western horizon, illuminating stone walls in warm golden light, the Nuragic towers cast long shadows across the island. Their silent presence invites reflection on human ambition, ingenuity, and the persistent mysteries of prehistory. They are monuments not only of stone, but of knowledge, social complexity, and imagination, reminding us that prehistoric peoples were capable of extraordinary feats that continue to challenge modern understanding. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of the nuragic complexes is the unanswered questions they pose. What was the full purpose of these towers, fortresses, temples, observatories, or symbols of identity? How did the nuragic civilization coordinate such monumental construction across a rugged and often isolated landscape? And what knowledge lost to time allowed them to build structures that have endured millennia, defying decay and remaining a testament to human skill and intention? In their quiet majesty, the Nuragi stand as enduring witnesses to a civilization that combined practical ingenuity with symbolic sophistication. They challenge us to consider the possibilities of prehistoric knowledge, the depth of human creativity, and the enduring mysteries that await discovery in stone landscapes and memory. Each tower, each corbelled chamber, each precisely laid stone asks us to look closer, to question, and to wonder what secrets may still be hidden beneath Sardinia's hills, waiting to illuminate the remarkable achievements of a people long vanished, yet vividly remembered in the monuments they left behind. From the rugged hills of Sardinia, where the nuragic towers rise like sentinels of human ingenuity, our journey now turns across continents, once again to the high plains of the Andes. In the windswept Altiplano of Bolivia, near the shimmering waters of Lake Titicaca, lies Tiano, a city whose monumental architecture, advanced engineering, and enigmatic symbolism have long fascinated researchers. Among its most imposing structures stands the Apana Pyramid, a massive terrace platform that dominates the surrounding plains. Its form is both geometric and organic, precise yet weathered by centuries of wind, rain, and time. From a distance, the Apana appears as a stepped mountain, its terraces rising in a broad rectangular formation. Its alignment with cardinal points is unmistakable, suggesting deliberate orientation. Each level is reinforced with large stone retaining walls, creating a tiered structure that ascends toward a flattened summit. The pyramid stretches over 200 meters across and rises more than 18 meters high. Though its original scale may have been greater before erosion and centuries of human activity altered its profile, the terraces themselves are composed of massive stone blocks, some weighing multiple tons, carefully shaped and fitted to withstand both time and seismic activity in a region prone to earthquakes. Excavations reveal that the Apana was not merely a static structure, but a dynamic center intricately linked to ritual water management and perhaps astronomical observation. Channels and canals have been found embedded within its terraces, suggesting sophisticated hydraulic engineering. Water may have flowed through the pyramid, perhaps as part of ceremonial practices involving purification, symbolic offerings, or processional rituals. The integration of utility and symbolism reflects an advanced understanding of both practical engineering and spiritual architecture, an interplay rarely seen with such scale and precision in prehistoric contexts. Dating the pyramid has proven complex. Mainstream archaeology states its construction around 500 to 950 CE, within the rise of the Tiwanaku civilization. Yet some researchers argue that lower foundational layers may be significantly older, hinting at a history that predates the established Tiwanaku timeline. Radiocarbon analysis and stratigraphy suggest multiple phases of construction. Each layer added terraces, canals, and stonework in a meticulous expansion that would have required considerable coordination and labor. How did societies of the high Andes with limited technological resources, compared to later civilizations, achieve such precision in stonework alignment and hydraulic integration? The stone blocks themselves are remarkable. They are cut with precision, joined without mortar, and sometimes display interlocking joints designed to resist seismic shifts. Some blocks are estimated to weigh tens of tons, raising questions about transportation, lifting, and placement techniques. How were such massive stones quarried, moved across uneven terrain, and positioned with such accuracy? And why invest this immense effort in a structure whose form and function combine ritual, utility, and symbolic resonance rather than purely defensive or residential purposes? These questions point to an advanced understanding of engineering, planning, and perhaps social organization far beyond what conventional interpretations might assume. The orientation and layout of the Apana also suggest potential astronomical significance. Its terraces and corners align closely with cardinal points, and some researchers note that lines of sight from the pyramid correspond with solstitial sunrises and sunsets. Could the Apana have functioned as a giant observatory encoding numerical or cosmological knowledge within its very design? Or were these alignments incidental, a byproduct of aesthetic or practical planning? The interplay between natural landscape, human ingenuity, and celestial observation remains one of the pyramid's most compelling mysteries. Beyond its technical and astronomical aspects, the Apana carries profound symbolic weight. The terraces, channels, and summit may have been stages for ceremonial practices, including offerings, processions, or communal gatherings. Carved stones and statues discovered nearby suggest a society deeply invested in ritual and cosmology, where the pyramid itself may have served as a conduit between the three earthly and spiritual realms. Could the terraces symbolize a sacred mountain, a cosmological axis, or the ordered layering of the universe is seen in other Indian beliefs? The alignment of architecture with landscape and sky suggests a worldview where human life, spirituality, and environment were inseparably intertwined. Speculative interpretations extend further. Some theorists propose that the Apana's construction reflects knowledge of lost techniques such as advanced understanding of stone cutting, leverage, or large-scale coordination. Others consider the possibility that the pyramid was part of a larger ritualized landscape connected with nearby temples, plazas, and ceremonial centers to form a vast sacred topography. The precision, scale, and complexity of the pyramid continue to inspire wonder. It is both monument and mystery, a structure whose human and symbolic dimensions remain only partially understood. The environmental context adds to the sense of awe. Perched on the Altiplano at over 3,800 meters above sea level, the Apana dominates a landscape of flat plains, distant mountains, and shifting light. Seasonal weather, high winds, and intense sun create a dramatic setting that would have amplified its visual and ceremonial impact. Its terraces aligned to the surrounding horizon would have been visible from great distances, signaling both presence and power. The integration of monumental architecture with its environment reflects a sophisticated understanding of perception, visibility, and symbolism, an awareness that goes beyond purely practical concerns. Even today, standing on the terraces of the Apana, one senses the precision, scale, and intent embedded in each stone. Walking along the broad steps, tracing the channels and retaining walls, one is confronted not only with technical mastery, but with the thought, vision, and labor of generations long vanished. The monument invites contemplation. The questions of its construction, purpose, and meaning remain partially unanswered, leaving space for reflection, curiosity, and imagination. How were the massive stones moved and positioned with such precision in a high-altitude environment with limited technology? What role did water, ritual, and astronomy play in the design of the terraces? And what social, spiritual, or cosmological knowledge guided the builders in a way that allowed the Apana to endure as both functional infrastructure and monumental symbols? These questions highlight the enduring enigma of Tiano and its extraordinary constructions. As the sun sinks over the Andean plateau, casting shadows across the terraces and channels of the Apana Pyramid. The structure stands as a silent testament to human ingenuity. Ambition and imagination. Its terraces speak of labor and vision, its channels of understanding and utility, and its precise stonework of knowledge lost to time. The pyramid challenges assumptions about prehistoric capability, reminding us that civilizations of the high Andes achieved feats that remain impressive even by modern standards. And so the Apana continues to hold its secrets, waiting for those who study, contemplate, and walk its terraces to uncover fragments of understanding. What knowledge, ritual, or engineering remains hidden in its stones? How much of Tiahuanaco's story has been erased by time? And what echoes of human aspiration are encoded in the very earth beneath the pyramid? The Apana Pyramid, monumental and mysterious, stands as an enduring invitation to observe, to wonder, and to consider the extraordinary possibilities of prehistoric architecture that no civilization could easily replicate. From the high plains of Tiahuanaco in Bolivia, where the Apana Pyramid rises as a testament to prehistoric engineering, ceremonial purpose, and astronomical awareness, our journey now spans continents once more, crossing the Indian Ocean to the arid heartlands of Rajasthan, India. Here lies Chonburi, a monumental step wall whose precise geometry, sheer scale, and intricate stonework have long captivated visitors and scholars alike. Unlike the pyramidal terraces of the Andes, Chonburi descends into the earth. Yet its architectural mastery evokes a similar sense of deliberate human intention, an intersection of function, artistry, and perhaps ritual significance. From a distance, Chonburi appears almost abstract, a massive square depression cut into the desert terrain, its edges lined with stone walls that descend into shadow. Upon approach, the intricate patterns become apparent. 3,500 narrow steps arranged in perfect symmetry, forming a mean grid of staircases that zigzag down 49 meters into the ground. Each tier of steps leads to the next, creating a visual rhythm that seems both infinite and precise, a geometric puzzle carved directly into the earth. The sheer number of steps and the repetitive precision suggest not only extraordinary labor, but meticulous planning, a vision realized over decades or perhaps generations. Chonburi is part of a larger complex, likely associated with a nearby temple, reinforcing the notion that its creation was more than utilitarian. Step wells in India historically served multiple purposes: water collection, storage during Eid seasons, communal gathering, and ritual purification. Yet the scale and design of Chonburi elevated beyond ordinary water management. Its descent into the earth, the precision of its steps, and the aesthetic coherence suggest an intentional interplay between practical necessity and visual or symbolic impact. How did its creators conceive a structure that is both functional and so dramatically architectural? Dating Chonburi presents challenges, though mainstream scholarship places its construction between the 8th and 9th century CE during the reign of local Rajput rulers. Despite this relatively recent timeline, compared to other prehistoric monuments we have explored, the complexity and precision of the structure evoke questions similar to those posed by sites like Apana or the Sardinian Norandi. How is such a vast geometric pattern executed with exacting uniformity? How are blocks of stone quarried, shaped, and arranged to form the intricate stair grid while maintaining structural stability for centuries? And what knowledge of angles, load distribution, and water management was required to realize a project of this magnitude? The engineering of Chonburi is remarkable. Each step is cut with precision. The walls are perfectly aligned and the well itself descends in a near-perfect vertical axis. The designers accounted not only for the depth of the water table, but also for seasonal fluctuations, structural weight, and long-term durability. The symmetry and consistency of the steps are hypnotic. Viewed from above, they create an almost tessellated pattern, a visual and structural marvel that evokes both awe and curiosity. Could the builders have used techniques lost to history, advanced knowledge of geometry, or purely empirical trial and error perfected over generations? The spatial arrangement of Chambori adds to its enigmatic quality. Unlike a conventional well, its steps extend outward in multiple layers, forming triangular and diamond-shaped patterns that converge at the base. The interplay of shadow and light, particularly during sunrise or sunset, transforms the structure into a three-dimensional lattice where steps, landings, and corridors appear to float and shift. Could this dramatic visual effect have been intentional, meant to evoke a sense of ritual ascent and descent, of connection between the human and the sacred, or even a symbolic journey into the underworld or spiritual depths? The repetitive, almost hypnotic geometry suggests the visual experience of the stepwell was as important as its practical function. Speculative interpretations further intrigue. Some researchers propose that Chambori was deliberately designed to serve not only as water storage, but as a ceremonial or contemplative space. The rhythm of the steps, the interlocking symmetry, and the depth of the well could have facilitated spiritual or ritual practices, perhaps involving processions, meditation, or water-related purification rites. Others note that its precise alignment may have astronomical significance, with stair patterns casting predictable shadows that mark seasonal or solar events, hinting at a sophisticated understanding of light, shadow, and celestial cycles. The human effort involved in constructing Chandori is staggering. Thousands of workers, masons, and planners would have been required to quarry stone, shape blocks. And planners would have been required to quarry stone, shape planners would have been required to quarry stone, shape blocks, and execute the complex stair patterns while maintaining structural integrity. Coordinating labor, planning material transport, and maintaining geometric precision over such a vast and deep structure represents a feat of organization and engineering rarely paralleled in other stepwells of the period. How did society conceive and sustain such a project? What social, political, or religious imperatives drove this remarkable investment of labor, skill, and time? Beyond engineering and ritual, the sensory experience of Chambori contributes to its enduring fascination. Descending its steps, one is enveloped by the interplay of shadow and light, the echo of footsteps, and the coolness of subterranean stone, a stark contrast to the scorching desert above. The structure compresses space, creating an intimate yet monumental environment where human presence interacts with geometry, shadow, and depth thought. Such an experience seems deliberate. Could the design itself have been intended to evoke humility, reflection, or spiritual contemplation? Even centuries after its construction, Chambori continues to defy conventional expectations. Its precision, scale, and aesthetic coherence suggest knowledge that transcends mere practicality, pointing to an understanding of geometry, physics, and perhaps symbolic language encoded directly into the stone. The stepwell bridges function and form, blending utility with artistry, engineering with human experience. How many other structures like it, equally sophisticated but lost to time, once existed across India's plains? What knowledge or tradition allowed its builders to conceive a project so enduring, so harmonious, and so visually mesmerizing as the sun dips low over the Rajasthani desert, casting long shadows across the steppe terraces of Chambori? The site invites reflection. Its meticulously cut steps, labyrinthine corridors, and dramatic depth create a space that is at once functional and enigmatic. Practical and symbolic, the well draws us into contemplation, urging us to consider not only the technical achievement, but the cultural, spiritual, and philosophical understanding that made it possible. The questions linger. Why was Chambori built with such meticulous precision and geometric complexity? How did its creators achieve architectural harmony at such scale without modern tools? And what symbolic ritual or astronomical knowledge is encoded within its descending labyrinth of steps? Like the prehistoric structures we had explored, before from Apana to the Sardinian Nurani, Chambori stands as a silent witness to human ingenuity, inviting us to explore, to wonder, and to confront the enduring mysteries of civilizations whose ambition, skill, and vision continue to challenge our understanding of the ancient world. From the intricate steps of Chambali in Rajasthan, where geometry, depth, and human ingenuity converge to create a structure both functional and mesmerizing. Our journey moves northwest across arid lands and rugged hills to the Jordanian desert, to the ancient site of Amarasis. Unlike the vertical descent of a step wall, Amarasis reveals its mysteries. Below the surface, in a network of underground chambers and hidden corridors that whisper of human activity, ceremonial practices, and engineering skill lost to time. Here, the desert stretches endlessly, broken only by low hills, scattered stone ruins, and the occasional olive tree. Yet beneath this seemingly quiet landscape lies a subterranean world that challenges our understanding of prehistoric construction. The underground structures at Ras are at first unassuming. From the surface, one might notice only weathered stone blocks and faint traces of masonry, remnants of churches, fortifications, and dwellings. But descending into the subterranean spaces, the scale, precision, and deliberate design become evident. Narrow passageways twist and turn, linking chambers with vated ceilings, niches, and carved recesses. The walls are meticulously constructed from local stone, carefully dressed and fitted without mortar in places, allowing them to endure centuries of shifting earth above. Some chambers are expansive, large enough to accommodate gatherings of dozens, while others are intimate, almost claustrophobic, suggesting different functions or ritual purposes. Mainstream archaeology situated primarily within the Roman and Byzantine periods with occupation from the 3rd to the 8th century CE. The site is celebrated for its mosaics and churches, but beneath the visible architecture lie older foundations, perhaps predating these constructions. Excavations have revealed layers of human habitation, each with traces of stonework that speak to practical and symbolic concerns. Yet the precise purpose of the underground corridors remains elusive. Were they refugees from seasonal heat, fortified storage spaces, places of ritual, or pathways connecting sacred sites? The subterranean layout defies simple explanation, suggesting a complex relationship between people, landscape, and possibly the unseen world. The engineering of these underground chambers is remarkable. Ceilings are vaulted with stone blocks that bear incredible weight. Walls are aligned with precision, and some chambers are interconnected in labyrinthine sequences that hint at planning, surveying, and an understanding of structural integrity. How did ancient builders, without modern tools or surveying equipment, achieve such accuracy in underground construction? What methods allowed them to excavate, lift, and fit stone blocks with such precision, ensuring thatinals remained stable over centuries, resisting both erosion and seismic activity in a geologically active region? Intriguingly, some subterranean corridors align with above-ground features or celestial markers. Certain passageways appear oriented toward cardinal points, hilltops, or distant landscape markers. Could these orientations reflect practical considerations, symbolic meaning, or even an early attempt to track celestial events? The integration of spatial awareness, astronomy, and construction hints at knowledge that extended beyond mere survival or defense. How much of this design was intended for human navigation, spiritual journey, or astronomical observation? Speculative interpretations abound. Some suggest that Oasis underground structures served as secret meeting spaces, ritual chambers, or places of initiation. Others propose that the subterranean network functioned as a sanctuary during times of conflict, or as a repository for knowledge and sacred objects. The precision of stone fitting, the endurance of vaulted ceilings, and the complex layering of tunnels and chambers hint at engineering skill that rivals surface constructions. In both scale and sophistication, could these builders have inherited knowledge from even earlier societies in the Levant, passing techniques and traditions across generations? Or did they innovate in response to the unique challenges of the landscape and climate? The subterranean environment itself contributes to the mystery. Walking through narrow passageways, one senses an interplay of shadow, echo, and temperature that is both tangible and disorienting. Light from narrow entrances illuminates mosaics, carved niches, or polished stone, while the deeper chambers remain dim, inviting both caution and contemplation. The silence is punctuated only by distant drops of water or the echo of movement, reinforcing a sense of timelessness. Did the builders intend for these spaces to evoke particular emotional or spiritual responses, shaping human experience through architecture and spatial design? The complexity of Oasis also raises questions about social organization and labor. Coordinating the excavation, transportation, and precise placement of stone blocks for underground chambers would have required skilled artisans, laborers, and overseers. How were projects of such scale and subtlety managed? What social, religious, or political structures facilitated this work? And how did builders ensure that subterranean passageways would remain functional and safe for future generations, accounting for structural pressures and environmental changes over centuries? The integration of underground spaces with above-ground ruins hints at a layered understanding of the environment. Churches, fortifications, and domestic spaces overlay the subterranean network, creating a three-dimensional city where vertical and horizontal space are both exploited with intention. The subterranean corridors in some areas connect distant chambers in a seemingly deliberate network, creating hidden pathways that remain partially unexplored. Could these have served as secret roads, ceremonial pathways, or conduits for water and resources? Or are we glimpsing only fragments of a much larger, now lost system that extended across the plains and hills surrounding Oasis? Walking through the underground spaces today, one experiences a direct connection to the labor, vision, and ingenuity of people long vanished. Each stone, vault, and passage tells a story not fully recoverable by observation alone. The deliberate planning, execution, and endurance of these structures suggest an understanding of materials, gravity, and human movement that transcends ordinary settlement needs. The site challenges assumptions about the capabilities of early societies, illustrating that even in remote or challenging landscapes, people could conceive and realize projects of remarkable technical and symbolic sophistication. Even as centuries have passed, many questions remain unanswered. How extensive are these subterranean networks? And what secrets lie hidden in unexcavated chambers? What symbolic or ritual significance might have been encoded in the architecture, spatial layout, or orientation? How much knowledge, skill, and tradition has been lost to time, leaving only stone as a silent witness to human ambition and ingenuity? The underground spaces of Oasis invite us not only to explore, but to reflect on the depth of prehistoric and early historic knowledge and on the mysteries that remain just beneath the surface of our understanding. As sunlight fades across the Jordanian desert, casting long shadows over scattered ruins and low hills, the underground chambers of Oasis remain silent, steadfast, and enigmatic. They endure as a testament to human ingenuity, architectural mastery, and the enduring power of curiosity. And while the passageways, vaulted chambers, and hidden corridors may conceal their full stories, they continue to invite exploration, contemplation, and wonder. A reminder that some of humanity's most extraordinary achievements remain concealed, waiting for those who seek to uncover them. What knowledge, skill, or intention lies hidden beneath the surface of Ras? How did its builders conceive such a network of subterranean spaces? And what purpose did it serve for those who traversed them centuries ago? And what secrets, still unexcavated or undiscovered, might yet reveal how prehistoric and early historic societies shaped landscapes in ways that continue to challenge our understanding today? The underground structures of Ras remain a silent, enduring enigma, bridging the known and the mysterious in stone, shadow, and human endeavor. From the subterranean corridors and hidden chambers of Ras in Jordan, where ancient hands carved enduring spaces beneath the earth, our journey now moves across oceans and mountains to the lush, misted highlands of Guatemala. Here, amid rolling volcanic slopes and verdant valleys, lies Talakabich, a site where stone, sky, and human intention converge in enigmatic harmony. Unlike the monumental pyramids or step walls we have explored, Talakabich presents a subtler mystery. Sprawling stone alignments, carved steel, and intricate pathways that hint at a sophisticated understanding of cosmology, ritual, and landscape, yet whose full purpose remains elusive. Approaching the site, one is immediately struck by the precision and arrangement of the stones. They form long, ordered alignments across terraces and plazas, punctuated by carved monuments depicting abstract motifs, anthropomorphic figures, and celestial symbols. From certain vantage points, the alignments appear almost like conduits, guiding the eye along lines that extend toward hills, watercourses, and the distant horizon. The geometry is subtle yet deliberate. Straight lines, angles, and spatial rhythms that suggest careful planning, an understanding of space, and perhaps a knowledge of celestial observation. Archaeologists date the site to as early as Bas-Urthialis, 800 BCE, with occupation continuing into the 1st millennium CE. Talakabich is notable for its hybrid cultural artifacts reflecting influences from both the Olm and Maya civilizations. While the carvings and stele have been extensively studied, the broader arrangement of the stones, the alignments themselves, has sparked questions that remain unresolved. Why were the stones positioned in such precise linear and angular patterns? Were they markers of ritual pathways, territorial boundaries, or astronomical events? Or did they serve multiple purposes simultaneously, blending practical, ceremonial, and symbolic functions in ways we are only beginning to grasp? The stone alignments are meticulously constructed. Some are low-lying monoliths embedded in the terraces, while others rise as freestanding stelates intricately carved with symbols and figures whose meanings are partially deciphered. The placement suggests an intentional relationship
with the surrounding landscape. Alignments often point toward volcanic peaks, river courses, or other natural landmarks. Could these orientations have held cosmological significance, aligning rituals with solstices, equinoxes, or lunar cycles? The possibility that these prehistoric builders encoded celestial knowledge in stone raises profound questions about their observational skills, intellectual frameworks, and symbolic worldviews. One of the site's most remarkable features is the interplay between topography and stone placement. Terraces ascend gradually, leading the observer along axes defined by stone alignments. Walking these pathways, the experience is both physical and perceptual. The eye is guided, movement is choreographed, and attention is drawn to specific focal points in the landscape. This deliberate engagement with environment and perception suggests that Tokli cabbage was designed not simply to be seen but to be experienced ritually, contemplatively, and perhaps even astronomically. Could the pathways themselves have functioned as stages for processions, pilgrimage, or initiation where each step was guided by symbolic or spatial logic? The carvings and motifs on the stele further deepen the mystery. Anthropomorphic figures, abstract glyphs, and depictions of celestial phenomena hint at cosmology, mythology, and power structures. Yet many symbols remain undeciphered, resisting complete interpretation. Some still appear to encode temporal cycles, mythological narratives, or astronomical events, while others may represent social hierarchies or ritual participants. How did the creators of Tokli cabbage integrate these carvings into the alignments and terraces? Did the stone alignments themselves serve as mnemonic devices guiding ritual or cosmological knowledge across generations? Speculative interpretations abound, as they do at other prehistoric sites. Some researchers propose that the alignments functioned as an early observatory, allowing for the tracking of solar, lunar, or planetary movements. Others suggest that the stones marked sacred pathways connecting ceremonial centers, altars, or tombs within a ritualized landscape. Yet no single explanation accounts fully for the precision, scale, and intricacy of the site. Could Tokli cabbage represent a hybrid of functions, astronomical, ceremonial, territorial, and symbolic, woven into stone with a sophistication that modern observers are only beginning to appreciate? The human effort required to create these alignments is also notable. Stones had to be quarried, transported, and positioned across uneven terrain, often with minimal tools. Planning and coordination would have been essential, indicating social organization capable of long-term projects. How did communities communicate and sustain such endeavors? What knowledge of landscape, geometry, and material properties guided their work? And what was the social, political, or spiritual imperative that justified the immense labor invested in aligning stone with such precision? Even today, moving among the stone alignments, one senses a subtle choreography of space, light, and perspective. Shadows lengthen along the terraces at dawn and dusk, emphasizing angles and relationships that may have been intentionally designed. The alignment of stones with peaks, rivers, and plazas evokes a deliberate integration of architecture, topography, and possibly celestial observation. This interplay suggests a worldview in which human activity, landscape, and cosmos were inseparably linked, each reinforcing the other in a sophisticated cultural schema. Yet for all its beauty and apparent order, Tokli cabbage retains its secrets. Many stones and steel remain unstudied, buried beneath soil or obscured by vegetation. Interpretations of alignments and motifs remain provisional, constrained by incomplete excavation and limited contextual evidence. What did the site look like at its peak? How were its terraces, pathways, and stellar experiences in daily or ritual life? And how much knowledge encoded in stone and landscape has been lost to time, leaving only traces of a sophisticated understanding of space, cosmos, and human presence? As the sun sinks behind volcanic peaks, casting long shadows over terraces and stele, Tokli cabbage emerges as both monument and enigma. Its stone alignments, carved symbols, and spatial choreography invite reflection on human ingenuity, ritual, and observation. The site challenges assumptions about prehistoric capabilities, reminding us that even thousands of years ago, humans could manipulate landscape, stone, and perception with extraordinary subtlety and purpose. What knowledge, purpose, or intention lies encoded within Tokli cabbage? Were these alignments tools for astronomy, stages for ritual, markers of territorial or spiritual domains, or some combination of all three? And how much remains hidden beneath the soil awaiting discovery to illuminate the remarkable sophistication of this prehistoric civilization? In its quiet, enduring presence, Tokli cabbage continues to whisper its mysteries, inviting curiosity, observation, and wonder. A timeless testament to the human drive to align earth, stone, and sky. From the meticulously aligned stones of Tokli cabbage in Guatemala, where terraces, steel, and pathways hint at an advanced understanding of space, ritual, and celestial observation. Our journey now returns to the highlands of Bolivia, to a site where earth, rock, and human ambition converge in a way that is both monumental and deeply enigmatic. Samayata, or El Fuerte, sits atop a massive sandstone outcrop, its surface carved with terraces, niches, and geometric shapes whose meaning continues to elude scholars. Unlike pyramids or stepwells, Samayipata unfolds horizontally across the rock, a sprawling canvas of stone that suggests both practical use and ceremonial significance. A prehistoric work whose full story remains just out of reach. From a distance, the rock commands attention. Rising above the surrounding valleys, it stretches nearly 600 meters in length and rises more than 100 meters above the forested slopes below. Its surface is uneven, weathered, yet human hands have transformed it into a carefully sculpted expanse. Terraces cut into the stone form broad platforms connected by stairways and channels, while sunken niches, circular depressions, and labyrinth and grooves punctuate the landscape. The scale is impressive, the precision subtle yet undeniable, hinting at labor, planning, and a profound understanding of the material itself. Archaeological study suggests that Siamapata was occupied and modified over many centuries, with evidence of use by pre-Inca civilizations and later by the Incas themselves. Radiocarbon dating places some construction as early as 300 CE, though the layering of terraces and carvings indicates a prolonged period of activity and adaptation. Unlike other sites that were built in discrete phases, Samapada appears to have evolved organically, with additions and modifications reflecting changes in social, religious, or political priorities. Yet the underlying logic of the carvings, terraces, and channels remains tantalizingly opaque. What were the original intentions of the builders? And how did successive generations reinterpret the space? The rock's carvings are remarkable in both variety and complexity. Abstract geometric patterns, circular depressions, channels, and sunken terraces dominate the surface, interspersed with carved representations of animals, human figures, and enigmatic symbols. Some depressions align in ways that suggest water collection or ritual use, perhaps as altars or ceremonial basins. Others form intricate networks of channels and pathways, creating patterns that are both functional and symbolic. How did ancient hands shape such a vast, uneven surface with precision? What knowledge guided the placement of each terrace, channel, or depression, ensuring both structural stability and symbolic coherence? Samapada's design raises further questions when considered in its landscape context. The rock overlooks valleys, river bends, and distant peaks. Its placement commands views that suggest strategic, spiritual, or astronomical considerations. Could some of the carvings have functioned as solar or lunar markers, tracking celestial cycles across the seasons? Did the orientation of terraces and depressions hold ritual or cosmological significance, reflecting an understanding of time and the universe encoded directly into stone? The integration of topography, geometry, and possibly astronomy suggests a level of sophistication that challenges assumptions about pre-Inc. Speculative interpretations extend beyond practical or ceremonial explanations. Some researchers proposed that Samapada may have functioned as a sacred gathering place, a ritual center where ceremonies unfolded across terraces and niches in a choreographed interaction with sunlight, shadow, and landscape. Others point to the labyrinthine patterns and depressions as symbolic representations of cosmology, perhaps encoding mythological narratives or spiritual principles in stone. The precise purpose of the rock's carvings may forever remain ambiguous. Yet the scale and complexity speak to deliberate intent and cultural sophistication. The engineering and labor involved in shaping Samapada are also extraordinary. Large terraces and depressions required coordinated quarrying, cutting, and removal of stone, as well as careful planning to ensure stability and integration with the uneven natural surface. Channels carved into the rock demonstrate an understanding of water flow, suggesting the builders manipulated natural runoff for ceremonial, practical, or symbolic purposes. How did pre-Columbian societies without metal tools of modern precision create terraces and grooves that endure centuries of erosion, weathering, and human activity? What systems of knowledge allowed them to harmonize natural topography with human design so seamlessly? Walking across the rock today is an immersive experience. The terraces guide the body, the channels channel movement, and the sun casts patterns that shift as the day progresses. The scale, combined with the subtlety of the carvings, evokes awe. It is both intimate and monumental, a space that seems designed to engage with perception, ritual, and landscape simultaneously. What ceremonies, processes, or rites unfolded here? How did the people of Samapada interact with this extraordinary canvas of stone? And what meanings did they perceive as they moved across terraces through niches and along carved channels? Even centuries after its construction, Samapada retains its mysteries. The exact purpose of many carvings and depressions remains unknown, and portions of the rock remain unstudied or inaccessible. Was the site primarily ceremonial, defensive, residential, or some combination of these? Did it function as a symbolic map of cosmology, a communal gathering space, or a sacred center integrating earth, stone, and sky? And what knowledge, engineering, astronomical, ritual has been lost to time, leaving only the enduring presence of carved stone as evidence of human ingenuity? As the late afternoon sun casts long shadows over the terraces and channels of Samapada, the rock emerges as both a monument and a puzzle. Its vast expanse, intricate carvings, and careful integration with the landscape speak to skill, intention, and cultural vision. The site challenges us to reconsider what prehistoric and early historic societies were capable of, demonstrating that human creativity, technical mastery, and spiritual imagination often exceeded what we might expect from distant eras. And yet, for all its precision and scale, Samapada continues to withhold its full story. What guided the placement of every terrace, channel, and depression? What rituals, knowledge, or cosmological principles are encoded in its patterns? How did successive generations of builders adapt and expand the site, layering new meanings on top of older ones? The rock remains a silent witness, inviting us to observe, reflect, and imagine the knowledge and vision of civilizations that shaped stone, landscape, and perception with enduring mastery. In Samapada, as in other prehistoric sites we have explored, the mystery persists, an open question etched in stone, waiting for those who seek to understand the extraordinary capabilities of ancient peoples. From the carved terraces and intricate grooves of Samapada in Bolivia, where prehistoric hands transformed sandstone into a sprawling canvas of ritual and symbolism, our journey now moves across continents to the sweeping cliffs of West Africa. Rising abruptly from the Sahelian plains of Mali, the Bandiagara escarpment stretches nearly 200 kilometers. A dramatic sandstone cliff whose vertical walls and precipitous ledges are home to one of the most enigmatic and enduring prehistoric architectural landscapes in Africa. Here, stone, earth, and human ingenuity converge in a way that challenges our understanding of prehistoric construction, creating structures that seem to defy both gravity and conventional expectation. From a distance, the escarpment presents a formidable natural barrier. Sheer sandstone cliffs that soar hundreds of meters above the plains, their surfaces pocked and weathered by centuries of wind and rain. Yet amid these natural fortresses, human hands have carved and built a network of dwellings, granaries, and ritual spaces, integrating the raw stone with constructed platforms in a seamless dance of environment and architecture. The structures cling to vertical faces, nestle under overhangs, and spill onto terraces at the cliff base, creating a landscape that is simultaneously functional, defensive, and profoundly artistic. Archaeological studies suggest that the Bandiagara escarpment has been inhabited for over a millennium, with many structures attributed to the Dune people, though evidence indicates the region was occupied by earlier cultures whose building practices laid the foundations for subsequent development. The cliffside dwellings, often rectangular and constructed from local stone and mud, are perched at dizzying heights, accessible only by narrow paths, ladders, or carefully arranged stone steps. The precision required to build on such vertical terrain is staggering. How did these societies conceive, transport materials, and assemble dwellings and communal spaces on surfaces that challenge both balance and gravity? Beyond the practicality of habitation, The escarpment contains ceremonial and communal spaces whose the purpose continues to invite speculation. Certain terraces appear deliberately aligned, while clusters of structures suggest communal, ritual, or defensive functions. The interplay between natural cliff formations and human construction raises profound questions. Were these choices purely pragmatic, dictated by terrain and defense, or did they reflect deeper cosmological or symbolic considerations? Could the positioning of certain dwellings, platforms, or granaries encode social hierarchy, spiritual beliefs, or even astronomical knowledge subtly integrated into the architecture itself? The scale of labor and engineering is remarkable. Large stone blocks were quarried, shaped, and stacked to form dwellings and retaining walls, often hundreds of meters above the valley floor. Terraces were leveled, drainage channels carved, and access paths created, all with rudimentary tools and ingenuity honed over generations. How did prehistoric builders conceptualize structural stability on near vertical faces? How did they ensure longevity and resistance to erosion, rainfall, and seismic activity? The escarpment, with its combination of natural fortification and meticulously constructed dwellings, suggests a mastery of both environment and material that few contemporary societies could match. Equally compelling is the symbolic and ritual dimension of the escarpment. Certain platforms, niches, and enclosed spaces suggest areas designated for ceremonial or spiritual practices, possibly linked to ancestor worship, cosmology, or seasonal cycles. Oral traditions of the Dune people describe elaborate cosmologies, star systems, and ritual practices that may echo ancient knowledge embedded in the cliff structures themselves. Could the alignment of certain terraces or ceremonial spaces have been intended to correspond with solar, lunar, or stellar events? And if so, what knowledge guided these early architects passed through generations in ways that intertwined architecture, astronomy, and belief? Speculative interpretations often extend further. Some researchers propose that parts of the escarpment functioned as fortified refuges or as centers of social cohesion for dispersed populations in the surrounding plains. Others suggest that the high-altitude dwellings were deliberately chosen for defensive advantage, visibility, and proximity to sacred sites. Yet the precision, scale, and integration with natural features suggest more than practical necessity. They point to a cultural worldview that harmonized human habitation with the landscape, creating a living architecture that simultaneously sheltered, symbolized, and inspired. Walking along the cliffside paths today, the sensory experience is immediate and immersive. The wind carries dust and distant voices. Shadows from overhangs shift across terraces, and the vertiginous drops evoke both awe and humility. Each dwelling, granary, and ceremonial platform testifies to human ingenuity, adaptability, and vision, challenging assumptions about the limits of prehistoric construction. How did communities maintain these structures over generations, passing down techniques, rituals, and knowledge with such precision? How much of the original organization, intent, or symbolism has been lost to time, leaving only the enduring stone as witness to human aspiration? Even after centuries, the Bandiagra escarpment retains its mysteries. Some cliffside dwellings are inaccessible without climbing, and hidden terraces and niches remain unexplored. What secrets do they hold about daily life, spiritual practice, or social organization? How much knowledge of construction, astronomy, or ritual has been lost, leaving only the structures themselves as silent testimony to human ambition? The escarpment challenges us to consider not just what these early societies built, but why and how they conceived of space, material, and environment in ways that continue to confound modern understanding. As the sun sets over the Malian plains, casting long shadows along the cliff face and illuminating the terraces in warm golden light, the Bandiagra escarpment stands as both monument and mystery. Its dwellings, granaries, and ceremonial spaces testify to human ingenuity, adaptability, and aesthetic vision. And yet, for all its grandeur and apparent logic, the escarpment continues to withhold many of its secrets. How were these precarious cliffside structures conceived, built, and maintained? What knowledge guided the alignment of terraces, ceremonial spaces, and dwellings within the natural landscape? and how much remains hidden waiting to reveal the full story of societies whose architecture seemed to defy gravity, logic, and time itself. The Bandiagara escarpment endures as an invitation to explore, to contemplate, and to wonder at the extraordinary capabilities of civilizations that rose upon stone and cliff, leaving a legacy that still challenges our understanding of prehistoric construction, production,